2 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Sanders pressure up for the fake and throws another interception. Mac Jones picked it off.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Panthers, Pickett, a very good runner. Don't sleep on those legs. Oh, he faked the slide. Sauce time. Pickett. Did that work? Touchdown, Pitt.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sesmall, 10 of 11 on the year, from 28 yards away for an Aggie upset win. And it's good. He got it.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
And interesting fake. It worked. It's a touchdown to Ben Sims. Just love the poise of this young quarterback.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. It's National Signing Day in college football, the first of two. It's been different in recent years when they moved to an early signing period. All hell's broken loose in college football with so much going on. And today I am using, thanks to Jack McKenzie, an alternate laptop here today. My hard drive went out, and so I'm having it replaced by the good friend Dow Myers, Josh, and those guys at Prompt Technology. So I'm going to be able to still get on the chat room. Paul Catalina is going to monitor quite a bit of that. Plus,
no, you're not.
I'm not?
That's a Mac. You have no idea how to work that thing.
And Craig Smoak used to be a part of the show as well, and he would love to leave early because he was up bright and early today with everybody else that's in this room with National Signing Day with a special show that Grayston also helped put together.
You know what everybody in the world should admire and love about Craig is that he is physically incapable. It's not in his DNA. And I'm going to swear here. Can I swear?
Yeah, go ahead.
He cannot bullshit anybody.
No.
He will not bullshit people. He won't do it. It's just out of his.
So hard.
It's not in it. And I think that is the most admirable quality, maybe in a human being. Maybe over compassion. Like, seriously, I would rather him do that than,
too.
like, help a puppy out of a well.
He's got compassion, too.
That might be the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me, honestly. But, no, I mean, yeah, I just kind of cut to the chase. And, yeah, the MAC will be an interesting experience for you. Maybe this is what finally gets you to flip over.
Yeah.
Who knows. But
go to the dark side.
Good to have the chat up for you since you do love checking that throughout the show. And looks like we got a party of people already here. And, yeah, it's been a long day, but, pretty good day for a lot of – I mean, if it's not a good day for you, then I don't know what your program's doing. I mean, honestly, because it should be a good day for everybody. But
well, let's put it this way: everybody will say it. You'll see a coach tell you, or hear a coach tell you that it was a good day today. No, you almost wish, like, listen, we really needed to sign 20. We signed 12, and we missed out on like 40 of them. But at the same time, it's National Signing Day. It's changed dramatically. There are some bizarre stories as well, shocking stories as well. As of right now, and we know, before you lose your mind, that there are 5 or 6 different sites that rate the rankings as far as the signing classes or so. But it does appear as if Texas A&M has moved into one. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, all of them are among the top 5 and still not done. And there have been some flips and commitments that changed their mind. Texas picked up, I believe, 3 of those today. Oklahoma did really well down the stretch with Brent Venables. And, of course, Alabama, Georgia closed very well. Ohio State closed very well, lost a young man, a corner, a 4-star player to Texas today. And then A&M got a tight end who's the brother of the quarterback that used to be at LSU, Johnson.
Max Johnson, sons of Brad Johnson.
Highly ranked tight end, among others. And there's some that have not yet made their decisions and some who will make their decisions tomorrow. And then some that have now said, I think the big Campbell kid, the offensive lineman, may not make his or sign until February. So we'll try to weave in and out of this if we possibly can. And that's like me weaving in and out of whatever the hell this MAC is putting up in front of me. Baylor signed their class. They're waiting on one more possible commitment. A young man named Armani Winfield is also very much in play as Baylor in Texas. We'll try to have that for you if we can. We're going to hear from a couple of those who signed today. Jordan Neighbors, a really dynamic receiver from Rockwall Heath, and Kyler Jordan, an athlete, a defensive, plays everywhere, out of Lubbock Cooper High School as well. We'll hear from A&M analyst, UT analyst, Ohio State analyst, and a Georgia analyst on National Signing Day to try to cover as much of that as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I just saw where another announcement came down. It looks like, one that a lot of people are waiting on is Cam Dewberry. He's involved with a lot of the schools that you just mentioned. I think OU, Texas, Texas A&M. So he's going to pick here in just a second. But Kamari Wilson, 5-star safety, just made his decision moments ago, and he picked the Florida Gators over A&M. So A&M had an opportunity to add to that number 2 class, and I think they've got other opportunities out there like a Dewberry, for example. But, yeah, as far as one of the 5-stars go, Kamari Wilson picks Florida and Billy Napier over A&M. So that's the latest. But, now it's on to Cam Dewberry, and then it'll be on to Armani Winfield, who – is trending towards Texas, but Baylor feels like they've got a shot, so we'll see. If it's going the way it's going for Texas today, then he'll probably pick Texas because their NIL deals are working. I mean, at least they're having an impact today because of the morning that they've had. So we'll see it for what he chooses. But, yeah, there'll be more, and we're not going to be done by the end of the day. Like you said, it's going to, be another several weeks till we get to the final pieces of this class.
It's a big one for Florida. Florida's class is going to not be ranked very high. It probably won't even get into the top 50 because of all the decommits they've had. I think Billy Napier and his staff know that, like, they're accepting that they're just going to take a lump. But to get a big dog like that in a class that's not going to have a lot of them, I think that's big for the Gators.
Well, it's a sign. It's got to make you feel good. I mean, you still have a lot to recover from. By the way, Derek Myrie, I think. Hello from Motown. Hey, Derek, thank you. Marshall Burns,
Detroit.
Breaking news, Baylor has tested positive for running the Big 12. Okay. Marshall, thank you very much for that as well.
Well, they've signed a boatload of guys. By the time we left the airways earlier today, Grayson and myself, along with Jack and Armstrong, I think they had signed out of the 19, 13 of them. And then by the time I got home, which is like a 10-minute drive, and I got settled in for a second, they had already announced like 4 more guys, and then I think there's been another 2 this afternoon. So they're 18 out of 19 right now for the Baylor 2021 class. They've got Corey Gordon, the only one remaining that has not signed just yet.
Kid from Oklahoma?
Yes, a young man from Oklahoma. But they had Bryce Simpson come in, Devin Bobby came in, Caden Siraki, George Maye, Devontae Tizino, the young man from Killeen. Those were all since we left the airwaves earlier around 10:30 or so. So that's 5 more guys, and yeah, now just Corey Gordon. And if he pledges today or signs his NLI today, then they'll be done. I mean, they'll be completely, filled with the guys they expected.
And then possibly adding Winfield again, Texas in the mix, and they've had a hell of a day, and that's bottom line. A&M, hell of a recruiting cycle. Of course, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, among some others. Now, the story, though, of the day, that's the national story of the day, is Jackson State. And Paul, you and I and Craig, we all were texting back and forth a little bit about this. The number 1 and 2, depending on which ranking you're looking at, cornerback in America was committed to player in America was player. He's a cornerback. Player committed to Florida State. Paul, when did he commit to the Seminoles?
About as long ago as you could. He's been committed to them for a very long time.
All right, so Deion Sanders is an FSU alum, one of the great corners in the history of college football and pro football. And then this morning, his name is Travis Hunter.
Yes.
Some things start to kind of look different. And then you start to see some whispers. Paul, you're an FSU guy, and I'm going to ask you what started happening and I know you don't follow this a lot because National Signing Day to you can be a little bit, you're just not as focused on it, but when did all this kind of start happening with Travis Hunter?
This morning, probably about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock our time, where all of a sudden there's all this buzz on Travis Hunter. And before we do this, I want you to hear this clip yesterday that we had on the show, and it will kind of frame this for you, and I'll tell you the thought that I had when Jeremy Crabtree from On3.com said this yesterday. Oh, you don't have it?
I'm going to give you also a couple of other names here to follow. Travis Hunter from in the Georgia area. He is at Collins Hill High School, led his team to the Class 7A state championship this past week, and he's committed to Florida State. And, guys, I've been doing this, like Smokey, you mentioned. I've been doing this for a long time. He's as close to a Deion Sanders playmaker on both sides of the ball at cornerback and receiver that we've seen in a long, long time. He idolizes prime time. He's going to be going to Florida State. I think he immediately steps on the field right away.
All right, so he says he idolizes prime time. The thought I had in my brain at that exact moment was, well, I guess it's good that Deion coaches at Jackson State. That way, because if he idolizes him, then hell, might as well go play for the guy, but he's at Jackson State. So if you want to win a national championship and all these other things, I guess that's why he's going to Florida State, because he can be just like Deion and play at Florida State and be that kind of transformational player. Well, earlier today, it appears that, and this has not been completely officially announced yet, but Dave Portnoy from Barstool commented on it. Travis Hunter has a 7-figure NIL deal with Barstool Sports and another company, and he is committed to Jackson State.
Well, what's he going to get the money for besides play at Jackson State? He's going to do a documentary.
Yeah.
Apparently he's going to do a documentary about playing for Deion Sanders at Jackson State and that journey, however long he'll be there.
Where this is interesting to me, and I get that the NIL is completely the Wild West, is that the other thing about Deion Sanders and Barstool Sports is he is an employee of Barstool Sports. He does a podcast for them. He's done a lot of things for them. So I think you might have just seen the new template of, hey, coach, you better get a deal with somebody, and he can maybe just hand out deals to the people you ask them to if they're that cool with you. So Travis Hunter, the number 1 recruit in the country by many services, regardless of position, number 1 player, is going to an HBCU, which is great. Again, it stings me as a Florida State fan that the shot to get the number 1 player in the country is gone, and to an alum, and a great one at that. But even still, it's just weird. This NIL thing is weird. It doesn't feel good, and it's strange, and it feels like we're going to keep seeing details that nobody thought would come up. Like, What if the coach is an employee of a company? Is that not the coach directly involved in NIL? Because most of the laws have the schools have to be kind of out of the NIL. Because one of the things we heard on that day from Baylor Compliance is when they released it, talking about the Texas law is that, Baylor cannot directly. So if you're the official car dealer of Baylor University, you cannot do a commercial together with some of these players. You can't do it because that's one of the things they wanted to stop. Well, that would not be similarly applied to this here because Deion Sanders is an employee of Barstool Sports, and now by the NIL deal, so is Travis Hunter.
Yeah, and it's, am I surprised? Well, I was surprised when I heard it was Jackson State, and that's probably not fair because of what Deion's bringing to Jackson State, the HBCUs, but it's still shocking that you had a chance to go to Florida State, and then you start to see some of the reasons why.
There's nothing unfair about going, what? I mean, it's still Jackson State. I mean, come on, like the number one player in the country picking an HBCU, that's bizarre. And it's great for Jackson State. It's great for Deion Sanders. Whoever else was involved, obviously other people were involved, whether it's Barstool or whoever, I don't know. I'm losing track of all the boosters there are nowadays. And it's only a matter of time before the spotlight shines on them because, people can't. I mean, if you're willing to pay guys millions of dollars to go play to boost a school that you're rooting for, then you're probably somebody who's going to want the spotlight at some point or another. But regardless of how it happened, it was I've seen people call it a seismic shift, and I'm going to have to see more than a couple of guys go to HBCUs before I start saying it's a seismic shift. But it's certainly very interesting, and, I hope he does well, because if he doesn't, then it's just going to be some signing day story that we all forget about and no one cares about after a while. But if he goes there and thrives and has success, then, that would be tremendous for Jackson State and for programs like Jackson State. I mean, the tricky part is, how long is Deion going to be there? I mean, he's not going to be there for 4 years while this kid's playing, or even probably
just transfer to wherever Deion
and then
goes.
He just transfers. Yeah. And so, we're celebrating it today, but in a year, we might be celebrating Florida State's Hunter and Sanders combination. You know what I mean? And that's what's weird about it. And that's what I was saying yesterday about NIL and signing day is, I'm not anti-NIL, but, signing day for everybody that's celebrating right now, these kids could be gone in a year. And, that's the thing that was a risk before, but not the way that it is now. There's no penalty, whereas before you at least go, okay, do I want to enter the portal? Man, I don't know if I want to sit out a year. Well, now that doesn't matter. You get, as long as you haven't done it once before, you get that one-time rule, and we're seeing what feels like 95% of guys using it right away. So, all that's to be determined. I don't even want to go too far down that road, but that is something I thought is how realistic is it that they're actually going to do this whole Cinderella story in the next 3 years? It's going to be Deion and, Hunter and whoever else joins the party at Jackson State. I don't know. But, it's very interesting and notable, and I'm sure we'll hear more about how it happened.
Well, but I think a side effect of it, though, is next year in the coaching cycle, Deion Sanders will be one of the hottest names.
Question, yeah.
And maybe not even just based on his coaching ability.
Remember when TCU, that name came up? His name came up.
I said why. Yeah. Okay. This is why.
S. Michael Diehart, let's get to a couple of the chat room about the NIL or about
I think it's really cool. I mean, I do think it's cool. I mean, the fact that it's something different and it's, not the typical Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, A&M, the same old, same old. So we'll see if that starts a trend or not. I'm hesitant to think that it really will, but maybe it does. Maybe this got enough attention that more guys go, and maybe that money matters too.
S. Michael DeHart, everyone young was screaming for NIL. Enjoy the monster that has been created. There's a couple of other comments about, I thought it would affect some things when it comes to national signing, but this seems to be more open than I even thought.
Yep.
Because it's legal. It can be open. You don't have to hide any of it, although we don't know about even more. And one of the things that one of the things about the NIL was supposed to be that players could make money off their name, image, and likeness. But it was not supposed to be to lure a player or players to any specific school. But now that's exactly what's going on, is because you are also promising them NIL money before they ever even sign with you. So I wonder if that may be something, but right now you can't. But I wonder if that might be something. But then what are you going to do? Hide that and then you get on campus and you sign an NIL deal and you get $50,000. And I'm not just picking on Texas with offensive linemen. Other schools are doing this as well.
Yeah, a lot of other schools are doing it, and people will bring up, well, the coaches move around and hop to and fro, and that's a valid point. It's just part of the deal. I just think it makes it a little bit difficult to kind of really wrap your arms around, a signing day class, for example, and really embrace it the way that you would when it was the way that it was, where you go, okay, these guys are signed, and barring something completely unforeseen, they're going to be here for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Like, that's a guarantee when you sign a class. Now, every single one of these guys signing today has a 1-year transfer exception. Every single one of them. So in theory, the entire class could be gone in 1 year. So that's why for me, I just find it hard to get as excited about, these guys making it official all across the country, even the Hunter story, because is he going to be there in a year? Is he going to be there in 2 years? Now, that's not for me to worry about. We'll see how it comes out in the wash. I don't want to make that the overriding storyline, because the overriding storyline is just these guys signing and making a bunch of official decisions today. But it is an aspect of the storyline now, is that offshoot of it, just like the main thing that we're talking about right now is NIL. We're not talking about just regular. I mean, and so it's just more college football changing, and whether you think it's for the better or worse, or it's just waiting to be seen, which is kind of where I am. It's interesting, that's for sure.
From Andrea Cameron. And I hear this a lot, and I hear this, and I read it, and I try to understand it, but I wonder if it's truly a comparison. And I see this a lot. This has been one of the arguments. Well, coaches are hopping around all the time. Lane Kiffin comes to mind. Is it still comparable to a player being able to accept or have the transfer portal openings, and there's one time? A coach can leave 4 times in 4 years. Is that comparable to what coaches are making or universities are making to what money players or student athletes should make? Should we even say student athletes? Should that even be a term? Now, we have an interview with Jordan Neighbors, and he brought up Baylor and the education of what he was looking for as well. But is it an analogy that players should be able to get whatever they want because coaches get whatever they want? Coaches are actually
adults
and some of them you wonder, but also that's a job. Now, is college football a job? I think the argument could be said yes and no, it's a job. All right, 254-339-1122.
I don't know why there's like a pack of people that want it to be more pro than it is, what it is. And I know that it's more football than it is academics in a lot of ways, but I just don't understand the desire. So maybe some people can help me out of why you want college football to become the NFL. You already have the NFL. And the NFL actually has more rules than college football. The grown-ups have more rules. Mm-hmm. And so I agree with the whole the coaches can move around, but also the coaches are 35, 45, 55, 65 years old. We're talking about 17, 18-year-old kids. And while many of them are adults in a lot of ways, and some of them probably do provide, and their NIL deals are going to provide for families. That's something we don't talk about nearly enough, is there's people who don't have money that this is like their way to put milk on the table every month. And that's something that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot because we focus on, well, what cars are they buying with it? Or what fur coats are they going to be on the sidelines with Barry Switzer style? Like, remember that, that was a reality in college football in the 80s. Barry Switzer on the sideline in a full-blown fur coat, just flaunting the money aspect of college football. So it's not like, that was 40 years ago at this point. He was doing that. But, I do look at it this way, too, is like, are high school kids, do we want to just start letting them transfer to whatever high school they want to? Why not? They should coach. High school coaches move. Why can't the high school kids move? Or where do we actually have rules? Like, that's the only thing that I'm curious about is, like, since when are we making they're not all kids, but the young adults have all of the same rights as the grown adults? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, not just because they're Americans, but because it seems like everything now, everybody should get everything given to them. And I know that you have to have a talent to get this. Here's a couple of more notes as well from John Kelly. Basically, to poach sign recruits to make the better off as far as the rich get richer. SMU would not have received the death penalty in the 80s. You're exactly right.
Here's a title.
John LaFoe. I'm a Texas fan, and I agree NIL has changed so much. I'm just happy to see our boosters doing something useful. And then an Army fan, my cousin signed, Eli Henderson. Go Razorbacks. All right, Army fan, congratulations to Eli as well.
By the way, I had a super chat here. I want to get to that from Michael Deitcha, I guess. Hard to turn down $1 million. Recruiting becomes driven only by big money. College football becomes a reality TV show. Yep. I mean, that's
the NIL from JG. Yeah. The NIL is no different than high school net worth individuals getting private tutoring for their children because they have the money to pay versus public school kids. It's a significant leverage. One of the other things is that I'm not against someone getting what their value is. I'm not against that. I'm not against some of the changes. And the reason we're seeing, like, from here to here, the pendulum has gone completely the opposite way is because the NCAA sat on their ass. They were arrogant. They didn't think anything would ever change. They could always just kick it down the can down the road, and all of a sudden, just like that, overnight, everything changed.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like, hey, you come play here, you get $50,000. And we're using Texas as the example because that's the most notable one, and it's the one that's the most recent as well since that came out late last week. So it's a nifty example to use, but certainly a lot of other programs are doing similar to that. But it was never supposed to be that. It was supposed to be, hey, this particular offensive lineman, we think he'd be, great, blah, blah, blah. Let's sign him to a Texas Roadhouse deal. And, we'll maximize his value. Well, now it's turned into where, let's say, a Texas Roadhouse, for example, just says, hey, if you play at this school, you get $50,000. It's not about their name, image, likeness. It's about just signing them to play.
No.
That's where I have the issue.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. It's not about these guys getting paid. It's not about any of that. It's about that it's not at all what it was supposed to be. And it's just turned into straight up, like, the highest bidder. And I know somebody will say, well, that's how it's always been. I get it. But, like, I'm not a fan of it all being so out in the open and blatantly obvious.
Let me ask you this question. Of everybody that signed today that is getting some sort of promise with an NIL, how many of them would have actually signed with that actual said school without it?
Well, let's see where Armani Winfield commits in about 45 minutes, because I can tell you that answer.
Cam Dewberry signed with Texas A&M, according to Scotty.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
Texas A&M gets Cam Dewberry, one of the highest-ranked players as well. All right, we're going to hear again from two Baylor signees from today, Jordan Neighbors from Rockwall Heath, and also Kyler Jordan from Cooper High School in Lubbock. Jason Howell and the Aggie surge this year with recruiting. Also, Joey Kaufman on Ohio State at 5. We'll have Anthony Dasher on Georgia 4:15, and Jeff Howell joins us sometime around 4:30 or so on UT at a big day that they've had. And if you look at the names in the list of the top 5-10 teams, there's some missing, Florida, a couple of others. But most of them are the same names that you always see with an addition of a name or two. When we come back, we'll hear from Jordan Neighbors of Rockwall Heath. This was not a given. He committed to Baylor quite some time ago, but with Joey McGuire in Texas Tech with a good relationship, a great one with him, there might have been some consternation. That's a word I used. His thoughts about the last few weeks leading up to National Signing Day, and his thoughts about signing day, in fact, today. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr, and they are attempting to, like a lot of dealerships, get around this supply chain issue that's been plaguing car dealerships for the last few months, really for over a year now at this point. But they've been able to kind of manage that as cars and trucks are on their way, and you can be one of the first to get into these new cars and trucks that are arriving each and every day by getting on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Now's the time to contact Richard Carr to get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. They're getting tons of inventory each and every week. If you need a pickup, check out the Sierra. It's got power for a work site or the luxury interior and drive for a night in the town. Richard Carr also has more SUVs than any other dealer. 11 SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. Richard Carr is a one-stop shop to find the perfect SUV for your needs. You can check out the fun and nimble Buick Encore or the sophistication and luxury of a Cadillac Escalade, plus the 9 other models they have on the lot as well. Whatever SUV you're looking for, they'll have the sizes and price ranges that you want. And if you need something today, you're not looking to buy new, well, they've got affordable pricing on loaded premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well, all having gone through a 172-point inspection before arriving on the lot. And their aggressive lenders are ready to get you in a car today, as 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. Richard Carr's your local hometown dealership for those in the Waco area. They're owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears, and look forward to seeing their friends at the dealership or in the stands.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Belmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for a 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sick'em 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Rockwall Heath wide receiver Jordan Neighbors signed with Baylor earlier today. He's been a commitment for Baylor for quite some time, and he joins us, Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. What did the morning when you finally put your name on that national letter of intent, what did it mean to you and the family?
Man, I mean, it's such amazing. It felt honestly like a big relief to have it all done and have it finally like signed and sealed. Like, finally, I'm so glad that I'm fully committed to Baylor.
What's the process like once you committed, before you signed? Like, was it stressful? You hear from other coaches, all these other things, even though you've made a commitment. What was that like? And is that maybe the biggest relief that for now, you're not going to hear from them for a while?
Yeah, man, it was like the last week or two, man. It's just been different coaches, different colleges all reaching out all at the same time, because I guess it's getting down to crunch time. So, I mean, all of them reaching out and just staying loyal, sticking to what I've been with. So that has been pretty stressful, but I mean, you got to stay loyal to your team.
I do know that obviously the relationship you had with Joey McGuire now at Texas Tech, and there was probably some consternation, and maybe I'm sure Joey and Tech reached out to you because you're a hell of a football player. Tell us about the meeting, though. Did you have it in home with Coach Aranda, Sean Bell, and everything else that kind of settled you down, or maybe just was, okay, I'm clear, everything's good?
Yeah, I was actually, so the crazy thing, I was actually supposed to go on a Texas Tech visit last weekend, and the Baylor coaches, they brought up the whole offensive staff that Thursday. And, man, I mean, they just really brought realization that, like, everything that I had, everything that I need and everything that I want is already right in front of me, and there's no need. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than Baylor. They literally have everything already planned out for me. From academics to football to just the people there and the environment, everything's just top notch. So they honestly talked to me and just brought that realization back to me that, like, this is home and there's no other place like it.
And they had to wait a week because they were playing for a championship. How much does that give you even more pride? They were good, but the fact that they're Big 12 champions, you signed with the Big 12 championship program.
Man, I mean, what better thing can you ask for? I mean, that proves that we're the best. I mean, they've already proved to be the best in academics and all that stuff. But I mean, when it came down to football, they showed why they're the best in their conference. And I mean, I'm so excited to be a part of the journey.
Jordan, this last thing for you. Thanks for your time. Congratulations on the day. They have some players, some really good receivers that were a part of this run this year, and they still have the Sugar Bowl, but a lot of them are moving on. They had a great class last year. What have you been told? Because they have Tyquan Thornton, Estrada, R.J. Sneed, among others. They're moving on, and they need the next wave. What have they said to you about the next wave?
Man, I mean, They told us from the jump, because I mean, we've obviously seen that Tyquan and RJ, and we've known that those guys they got the talent to play at the next level. So we knew that. I mean, with them leaving, we're obviously going to have some players that's going to step up and fill into those positions. So I mean, they've told me they want to move me around, play me around like RJ and how they did Tyquan, moving me around inside and outside. And I mean, just getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. So, man, I'm ready.
Congratulations, young man. Thanks for your time. Can't wait to cover you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's Jordan Neighbors, Rockwall Heath wide receiver, spectacular playmaker, signed with Baylor today. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. And in fact, Andrea Cameron on the chat room said, I can't wait to watch Jordan Neighbors play at Baylor. He can flat out make some plays for that high-flying offense. But so that's one of the players. And, of course, Grayson and Craig and others have done a lot and interviewed a lot of players who committed with and signed with Baylor today. And we're going to touch on A&M in about 8 to 10 minutes. Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, among others, throughout the show today. We're now joined by Kyler Jordan from Cooper High School in Lubbock, co-defensive player of the year from the district as well, and he has signed with Baylor as well. Kyler, you committed. You've stayed committed. Did you ever wobble on your commitment with Baylor?
The coaches have shown me nothing but love ever since the beginning. You know, they were really the first big school that gave me the opportunity, and I'm very blessed to be able to get the paper signed and start moving with the next chapter.
Kyler, being a linebacker and seeing what these linebackers in this defense do, was that the biggest draw to play for an Aranda, Ron Roberts defense?
Yes, sir. I mean, knowing that Coach Aranda was a DC before at LSU and just talking to him with his wisdom and his vision of the game, I see myself fitting into the mold of the person over player, and I feel like that I'll get there and make an impact. Hopefully somewhat like Dylan Doyle. Really look up to that guy.
Yeah, and he's going to be around, and I'm thinking right now, Kyler, as you mentioned his name, the goal line stand to win the Big 12 championship. And I remember seeing the video, and Terrell Bernard's right there by the official, and he celebrates. And then there's Dylan Doyle comes running over, and he looks like he's just about to start crying with happiness. He's so exhausted. What did you think of that Big 12 title game and the fact that the Baylor defense stood up so tall there at the end?
Yes, sir. That was crazy to see. It's just, I mean, I love defense. I've played defense my whole life, and it's just those goal line stands. I know the few that I've had in my past. It doesn't get much better than that. And watching it, even though I was at home watching it, I mean, my dad was sitting in the chair and jumped up and started screaming. It was just it was really cool to watch.
Kyler, have they discussed yet what they want you or where they plan on putting you in the defenses? You've been an outside linebacker, defensive end, kind of an edge guy, creating disruption. Are you going to end up being more in the middle? What have they said to you?
Yes, sir. They told me that they're going to start me at Jack, and then depending on what happens from there, I mean, may move me inside. Just kind of depends on everything that's going on and what's needed on the field.
How much did you guys as a class, as everybody who committed along the way, how much conversation did you have in a group chat or something that kind of kept everybody together?
Oh, yes, sir. People like Mello and, Kelsey and all those guys. We've got a group chat, and they're always talking in there, and it's just getting to know those guys a little earlier before I get there and finally get to, be with them all the time, because we're going to be together a lot. And it's been really cool to already get to know those guys.
So, Kyler, everybody, talks about you recruits, all year long. Once, your time in the spotlight comes around, and, obviously this year was your year and your fellow teammates to be under that spotlight. And we talk about the visits that you guys take and all the other things. But from your perspective, somebody who's actually now gone through it from start to finish, you had the opportunity to look forward to what it was like to be recruited and go through all of that. What are your thoughts on just the recruiting process? And is it a relief now that it's over? Or are you going to miss it a little, all that attention? Or are you kind of glad that it's going to be, more of a singular focus now?
Yes, sir. I'm very relieved. I'm so blessed to be in the position that I was with the options that I had. I mean, it definitely was a little stressful, though. It's hard for me to really take all the people that I love out of the equation and do what's best for me. But I really feel like me leaving Lubbock and going to Waco, I think it's what's best for me as a person, and I can't wait to start that next chapter.
Kyler, you hear and you see, and recruiting, of course, has rankings, just like there's rankings for teams in the top 25 or anything else, rankings for this or that in business. But you see the rankings and the stars. Baylor has built a team that has been successful for the last decade plus with players that are diamonds in the rough. Some of them have been highly ranked players. You're a 3-star guy. A lot of people thought very much of you. What do you say about fits and going to a school that is about, once you get on campus, getting better rather than just being who you are now and then basically leveling off?
Yes, sir. I mean, once you get to college, everybody says the stars disappear, because they do. Whoever works the hardest, whoever plays with the most grit, who's going to find the field. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of rating you had in high school. Once you get to college, everybody's in the same boat.
So Dylan Doyle, you that's who you want to kind of just walk around with him and just kind of marinate all of what he has, huh? As far as what he means to college football in Baylor?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. He was my player host on my official visit, and it was just really cool for me to get to spend some time with him. And I can kind of connect with him a little bit just because of his expectations for himself. And, just kind of his personality. I feel like I mixed well with him and just really look up to him, because no matter how big he is, he always reached out to me.
Yeah, he's a good young man. He really is. He's salt of the earth type of guy. Kyler, we got to meet Dave Aranda when he first arrived in Waco over a year ago now at this point, and he was very quiet, and he's still pretty quiet, but he's kind of loosened up a little bit over the last year, and I think that was shown over the course of this season. But what's it been like getting to know him, getting to know the coaching staff as well? And if you want to shout out a couple of the coaches in particular, feel free to do that. But what's kind of been your relationship like, or what you gathered and is kind of getting to know Dave Aranda and obviously the staff members?
Yes, sir. It's awesome. Coach Aranda's he's a crazy dude, and it's just I really love his intelligent, critical thinking kind of stuff, and just his football wisdom. He really seems like he's got it all figured out to me. And then like Coach Collins, me and him have talked a lot the past couple weeks. Coach Roberts, we've talked a lot. Coach Curtis, really, Coach Bell, all those guys they've taken the time to talk to me, and it goes a long ways, not only for me, but for my parents too.
Congratulations, Kyler. I know the family was jacked up. We got a couple of pictures of what you had the National Signing Day set up. Congratulations. Look forward to covering you. Take care of business the rest of the way, and we'll see you very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you. That's Kyler Jordan of Cooper High School in Lubbock, co-defensive player of his district, and a guy that's probably going to move around a little bit from where he starts, as he mentioned, early in his college career to where he goes once he continues to develop and also get bigger, better, faster, and stronger. We're going to hear from Jason Howell, covers Texas A&M. He's got to be out by 4 o'clock, so we'll come back with Jason Howell, TexAgs.com, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicLOT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become, and his staff, the high-performance man that you want to be. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone that leads to possibly changing or maybe losing your sex drive, hurting you when it comes to your sleep habits, and also even your energy throughout the day. It could be something else, but it also could be your testosterone has changed. 1 out of every 3 men, that happens to you. So Dr. Kent Petty can set you up. You contact them, PettyClinicLOT.com. Email or call them. It's on the website, top left-hand corner. Tell them I sent you. Set you up with blood work to get done. He'll look at the results. And then if your testosterone level is too low, he will put you in a program to help increase it methodically so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be at PettyClinicLOT.com.
The all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L is in stock. The beautiful, luxurious, elegant third-row seating carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. First responders get an extra $500. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $2,400 or 0% for 72 months. It's the Big Finish sales event now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, you'll have a couple of more national analysts on tomorrow, looking back at National Signing Day, and there's always a couple of loopholes to tie up. We're joined by Jason Howell, known Jason forever. He's covered many of the teams, including Baylor before. Jason Howell now with TexAgs.com, a recruiting analyst for them, joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We just saw the news about Cam Dewberry. Jason, of course, high expectations. They got the tight end early in the day. Have they missed on anybody? Is there one? Is it Wilson? Is there someone that perhaps they have not been able to get today because it's been a great day for A&M?
It's been amazing. I think going into the day, the guys that you really had circled were Anthony Lucas, Cam Dewberry, Jake Johnson, Eni White, Marquise Groves, Killebrew, Denver Harris, and so far they've gone 3 for 3, and you got Eni White coming up here in a few minutes. Marquise Groves Killebrew is a Georgia commit cornerback, and there's some buzz that he may be reconsidering that. Denver Harris, we don't know what he's going to do. It sounds like he may have something done this early period, but A&M seems to be in a really good position there with Texas and LSU and Alabama also in the mix. And I think the one guy that they missed on that they were kind of fighting for was Jihad Campbell, who came in on an official visit last weekend. He ends up going with Alabama, who he also visited over the weekend. So overall, they got to feel pretty good about where they're at and what's been happening. It's the makings of historical class there at College Station.
Not that he won't put these expectations on himself, but Jimbo Fisher's now maybe turned up the pressure, right? If you've got the number one recruiting class for the first time, maybe in school history, consensus, now it's going to be like, okay, well, better make these guys play well, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, there were some flashes. There's been some flashes over the last few years. You saw it against Alabama this year where things really came together. This year there were some unfortunate injuries. Everybody has to deal with those, but losing your quarterback on the first drive of the second game definitely kind of restructures things a little bit. But that's been the expectation. He's not going to shy away from it. They're not selling, hey, we're gonna go 10-2. They're talking national championship aspirations. You talk to the guys in this class, they're saying our goal is to win a national title. We are coming to Texas A&M to win it all. We're coming to beat Alabama, Georgia, and whoever else we got to go through. So they're and I'll say this too, where this class really stands out is in the trenches. The last few years, they've done a phenomenal job beefing up both offensive and defensive lines. And this defensive line class, I haven't ever covered a defensive line class like they've already got in the fold with 3 5-stars already committed and signed, and possibly adding, another high 4, borderline 5-star in Anai White, and to go along with Malik Filla, who's a national top 60, 75 player in the country. So it's ridiculous. It's different.
Yeah, it's something, all right. And a lot of national recruiting. I mean, Jimbo obviously he's been around a while, and they've been able to go super national. But, a hot button issue for A&M this year, Jason, was the quarterback spot with the early injury to Haynes King, and then Calzada's, kind of unexpected transfer there a couple of days ago. But Connor Weigman, I've heard a lot about him. He signs today out of Bridgeland High School in Cyprus. 5-star ranked player. What is it about Connor Weigman that they like so much? And obviously, how quickly do you think he can make an impact?
Well, I tell you, he's coming in with his eyes on the prize, ready to make an instant impact. He'll be there in the spring, and he'll be there to fight for a starting job. Haynes King was a guy who won the job last year and got hurt. And really, there's a lot of similar attributes between the two of those guys. They're mobile. They have great pocket presence. They're business-like on the field, but they just have that quiet confidence, and they step up in big moments. And I think Weigman has shown that over the years at Bridgeland, taking that. I mean, I don't know what if they were even varsity whenever he first started his career, but I mean that's a fairly new high school with and he's done a phenomenal job of taking that program to new heights, and really leaving a legacy down there in the Houston area, taking home Houston Touchdown Club Offensive Player of the Year.
Jason, one more thing. You know what UT's been able to do in the last few days, the offensive linemen that came in, and the NIL, and, of course, getting Quinn Ewers. And they've had a great end to this race right up to National Signing Day and beyond. Not so much what you've watched with them, but has A&M noticed that? A&M's got your NIL. What are they doing when it comes to trying to offset that? Or is it just right now just wanting to play in the SEC and play for Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies?
Oh, I mean, they're like a lot of these teams, especially in the SEC, that have been on the forefront of the NIL. I don't think it's been advertised as, just in your face as what Texas has done over the last week and a half. But, it's definitely there. And I think you see it with these guys signing today. There's opportunity there. There's NIL money to be had, and I know TexAgs has been involved in some NIL stuff with some of the current players and things like that. It's there. There's opportunities, and these guys they know that with the alumni base that Texas A&M has, and just the eyeballs that are on the program and on the SEC. That's not a hard sell. NIL money is going to be there.
So, Jason, final thing for you before we let you go. I saw Jimbo talking just a little while ago, and he was talking about they might have 5 or 6 more guys out there, on the fishing pole. What are A&M fans looking at? Kind of set the course, I guess, so to speak, for what the rest of the day might look like, and then moving forward as far as completing this fantastic A&M class.
Well, you got Anil White, who's set to announce a defensive end out of Philadelphia. 4 p.m. I think on CBS Sports. He's got a Final Four of Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas A&M. You got Marquise Groves-Killebrew, again, who A&M fans are watching close, Georgia commit that A&M's been working on. They're watching Denver Harris a little bit closely. I don't think that one's going to happen today. They're keeping an eye on Evan Stewart. Still haven't seen that letter come across just yet, but watching him and still feeling pretty good about what's happening there. And then beyond that, you're looking at post signing day with Shamar Stewart. You got Harold Perkins, who's announcing at the Under Armour All-American game. Jacoby Matthews, a big safety out of Ponchatoula, Louisiana. And you might see some things working on the transfer portal as well in the next few days.
Whatever happened with Evan Stewart?
He just said he's not officially signed yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we don't have a timeline on Evan and when he's supposed to sign. And I know Texas has been making a pretty big push, but I still continue to hear good things. And I know as of last weekend he was fired up about A&M and recruiting and doing a lot of things. So I feel pretty solid about where the Aggies stand there. But it sounds like Texas is trying to do their best.
Well, that's what the last day and the next few days is about. Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely.
A chunk of elite players. Now you got to do something with them when they get there. Either of course in about a month when they get on campus for the spring, or those who come a little bit later on. And there's a lot. You wonder how many of them, because it seems like that some of these teams who are still adding maybe 2, 3, 5 players are near that edge of 25. The way the way the rosters are with the now transfer portal, hell, sign as many as you can.
Well, you can sign 7 extra guys,
you can sign,
depending on who you lose.
Yeah, sign 33 or whatever the numbers might be, and it's just different.
They got to get over this COVID thing in a hurry, though. Like this whole expanded scholarships and the one-time transfer and it's just too much, all at once, in my opinion. It's hard to keep track of, and I just think it needs to settle back in, and it will, because naturally the COVID precautions that they took or whatever are gonna normalize. At least I think, but the way college football's going, by next week we could be hearing that the one-time transfer thing doesn't even exist anymore, and now everybody gets as many as they want. I mean, that's kind of the direction it's headed at this point. But yeah, that's a thing that's a part of this story this year, is that you do have more scholarships potentially available.
All right, when we come back to 4 o'clock hour, we'll touch in with Georgia. We'll also talk to Jeff Howell, who covers Texas. This is Sick and 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive, your place for whatever you want to cook during the holidays, whether it's for Christmas or even New Year's. Right now, and I've had this, and it is spectacular. They made this available during the tailgating season of football. Holiday tenderloin, an entire non-trim tenderloin, select choice and prime grade, from $9.50 a pound to $27.50 for the prime whole non-trim tenderloin. The trimmed ready-to-cook tenderloin from $12.99 a pound for select choices, $22.99 and $32.99 for prime. It will melt in your mouth, and you really don't have to do much with it. It is ready to go. Now, you could put your seasonings or even whatever else on it. That's fine. But it is delicious. I've had one. In fact, Brian Bauer, one time when I picked up my product, I had one of those in the box, and I cooked it, and it was so delicious. Waco Custom Marketplace, a full butcher shop and bakery at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Hey there, it's Jay from Pickup Outfitters with a holiday public service announcement for all the wives and significant others out there looking for Christmas gift ideas for their man. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. At Pickup Outfitters, we say the way to a man's heart is through his truck. And there's no better Christmas gift for the man in your life than something for his truck. Would your man rather have a new bathrobe or bumper or a cool light bar, socks or a lift kit, a new wallet or new running boards? The answer seems pretty clear, doesn't it? Pickup Outfitters is your Christmas gift headquarters. Why get your man a hoodie when you can get him a slick new retractable bed cover? So don't waste money on a meat thermometer or sweatpants when you can get him a gift certificate for anything he wants for his truck. That's the way to get to a man's heart. Stop by Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
All right, we're back here, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports on YouTube. We appreciate all of you who have been a part of the chat, talking about and discussing your favorite team. We do have somebody at the signing or the commitment and the signing of Armani Winfield, the young man from Louisville High School. Garrett is there to kind of capture that. Texas appears to be the lean favorite here, but Baylor has been in the mix, and it's gone down to this, and there are some more commitments being made throughout the rest of the day. And as even Jason Howell just mentioned, there will be a commitment tomorrow morning with the elite cornerback down in the Houston, defensive back down in the Houston area. We can't really hear much of what's going on. In fact, let's cut to it right now.
The next 4 years of your career, Monty. So I'm going to move on to Damian, and I'm going to let these guys sign away. So Mr. Damian Martinez, we know that he's
all right,
committed.
Come back to me, Armstrong. All right, there's going to be some others at side, and that's one of the things. You have a group. It's not just one player. There's a group of players who are, of course, up on the stage from Louisville. The Farmers, by the way, and what Armani Winfield eventually does, whether it's Texas and or Baylor, we do have somebody there as well. Hey, one note in high school football. The high school football state championship started today. Up in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. Westbrook won the Class 1A or 6-man Division I championship, 72-66 over May. Won by 6. It's their first ever state championship, and Strawn right now is blowing out Motley County in a battle of 1 against number 2 unbeatens in the 6A Division II championship game. So, all right.
Tremendous kid.
And we'll kind of get into that whenever we can. We're going to hear from Anthony Dasher, who covers Georgia, on yet another just, methodical class for Georgia and head coach Kirby Smart.
It's really amazing we got one of our high-level cameras in there so fast.
Yeah, we signed.
It's on his phone on a Skype call.
We signed Garrett to an NIL deal to go and film this ceremony, and God bless Garrett for doing that. For us. And again, it's down to Baylor and Texas. And honestly, it appears it's more of a Texas lean. And if he picks Texas, great. If he picks Baylor, that's great too. But Armani Winfield making his decision. And there's so many people behind the scenes that sometimes you don't hear or see, including what Colt Barber does for us with Sikkim 365, and then also with Craig and Grayson earlier, along with the staff here in the studio with Jack and Armstrong as well with the recruiting show earlier today.
I do think, I mean, look, I get it. Everybody's making their commitment today. But everybody is there for one reason right now. And, just get to that reason, then do the other ones. To me, that's what I've always kind of felt.
I don't know why.
I think our cameraman just died on scene, basically, just the way that phone fell or whatever. Okay, and we're back.
All right, we'll just kind of have that in the background. Armstrong, if you see anything of interest or whatever, let us know. So that's that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Baylor gets him, it'd be a big deal. But
I think it's happening right now.
Okay.
Congratulations,
The other guy was already committed somewhere, so he signed. So now he's committed.
All right, here we go.
All right, Armani Winfield.
Texas, Baylor, or a surprise?
Appreciate the community. I appreciate everybody here today. Appreciate my family, appreciate support, my backbone. I just appreciate everything that goes on with my family. For time I had here. Appreciate my dogs over there. Shout out to the boys. Shout out to the boys. Love y'all boys for real. For the reason we all here for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be taking my time to listen to them.
Baylor.
Armani Winfield.
Boom.
From Louisville, live right here on this show.
Got his pullover caught up.
Yeah, you know what I
almost took his shirt off.
You can turn that down a little bit. There's the excitement in the background. How about that? And there's some green and gold balloons and all that was planned out. And Colt Barber set that up for us. And Garrett, you did amazing. Thank you. That we had no idea. In fact, I was expecting Winfield to most likely commit to Texas. And Armani Winfield from Louisville commits to Baylor right here on the show, Sikkim365.com. And a huge pickup for them because, again, that's an addition. That's not who they thought going in was a part of who already had committed and would sign with Baylor. And so that's an addition. And great job by Garrett, Colt Barber, Armstrong, you and Jack as well. And that was his impromptu. I had no idea. I honestly didn't. I was expecting him to commit to Texas. He did not. Great pickup for Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears.
As of last night, he was all set to sign with Baylor, it seemed like. And then this morning, all of a sudden things started getting squirrely, and you started to see Texas flipping guys left and right. I think they flipped at least 3, if not 4, at this point. But there's at least 3 this morning that I can recall. And, there was some thoughts that something was going on to where his mind might have changed. And, obviously now you got to go, was there some NIL deal that was worked out, and that's part of, you have to wonder because, it's all fair game now. So it's not like you're, saying something like, oh my gosh. But yeah, when a guy suddenly is looking at a change of heart on the day of, maybe NIL comes into play, but whatever it was that was leading Texas riders to believe that he was heading there, I'm glad that they're wrong. That's a big-time pickup for Baylor. They certainly need some wide receivers. They had a big class last year, but a lot of that's unproven, right? So you just keep adding until you've got a proven group. And getting Armani Winfield, it's a big-time get for this Baylor staff. And I see Chancey Stuckey, wide receivers coach, with the big let's go.
Yep.
I see Justin Johnson, Juice with the running backs coach with the tweet about green light, it's a big go, and Sean Bell. They're all celebrating right now. So, yeah, that was expected then unexpected, and now it turns into a big deal for Dave Aranda and the Bears.
One of the things that UT has done, and they've closed their class very well. They're not done yet, and they have been winning some of the head-to-heads leading up to today, including some today. They flipped an Ohio State corner today. They flipped a couple of others. A young man that was a commit to Oklahoma. Boise, I think, is another one they flipped. So they have been winning those battles. Not all of them, but some of them. And Baylor gets Armani Winfield, and that's a huge get. And as you could tell, as Craig mentioned, a lot of the coaches immediately, and there's a story up on Sikkim365.com just about him, has his highlights and you saw it live. And when we arrived here today, we have a schedule that's kind of flexible, kind of fluid because of all that's going on. And when Armstrong brought that up, Armstrong, what was my reaction to you when you said, hey, we're going to cut into the Armani Winfield commitment video from X, Y, and Z?
Confusion.
Yeah, well, because I didn't know.
Like right now.
Yeah, and kind of like now, it's okay. And so that's a great job. Colt got Garrett there. Garrett was there. We covered it live, and we were ready to go with it, whoever it possibly was.
Yeah, Grayson just said, and, take it for what it's worth, but he was big on Armani Winfield and the fact that, they had a couple guys in Kyler Jordan who we just talked to and Jordan Neighbors who we heard from earlier that were, you thought about Joey McGuire and Tech factoring in maybe a little bit for those guys, but both of them have signed with Baylor, and now you had – not that Kyler Jordan's an offensive player, but Grayson's point being that with Winfield and Neighbors, Baylor's got one of the better 1-2 punches signs at wide receiver in the country, in his opinion. So, yeah, that's a big get for them. I wasn't expecting it after what I was hearing this morning, and I'm glad to get a little bit of a surprise every once in a while in a good type of way. So, yeah, see Sean Bell here. Juice was loose late last night. Real Asian ships. Bombs over Baylor, and he's got a picture of a screen grab, and it looks like it's the coaches, Grimes, Bell, and Juice talking. I think that's with Armani Winfield, so
that's great.
That's cool, yeah.
All right, we'll see if we can track down Armani Winfield, but we are not done. Georgia ended up, of course, with a great class. They've been on this decade run, and Georgia's always had great classes. Kirby Smart and Georgia in the semifinals of the college football playoff. We'll check in with Georgia with Anthony Dasher. Jeff Howe on UT and their class. Steve Sarkisian's got his press conference going on right now. Plenty to get to, including Joey Kaufman and Ohio State. Another top 5 or 6 class for them, as you expect. Sikkim 365 Radio and also 365 Sports. The city of Woodway. Christmas holidays, of course, we're a week away from Saturday being Christmas Day. It seems like it's like December has just evaporated in some way. But let's say you have family coming in town and you just don't have room for them. Or you who watch us on 365 Sports come into Waco at any time and you want to stay somewhere. Well, there's hotels. When I first moved to Waco in 2010, I promise you, there didn't seem like there was more than 10 or 12. And I'm not kidding. Now there are dozens of them. A lot of reasons because of the growth at Baylor, but also because of, yes, what's happening with businesses, with Magnolia, the silos, balconies, and just the fact that this city has really changed in the last decade in a lot of amazingly great ways. So if you want to stay here, you're looking for a hotel here. If you want to come watch Baylor basketball or the team you follow that's playing Baylor in basketball down the road, 7 hotels in the city of Woodway, 7 of them. And you can find them at discoverwoodway.com.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash for trade. TTL Extra. See deal for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $438 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We have checked in with Texas A&M. We still have Ohio State, UT. We've discussed Baylor throughout the day, and they just did receive the commitment from Armani Winfield from Louisville, another highly ranked wide receiver. Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com, joins us on Georgia. And yet, Anthony, thanks for your time on National Signing Day, being a hell of a busy day. It's just a methodical class for Kirby Smart and company, whether it's a 1 or a 2 or whatever, ranking 3, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, I think, no question. They have some, specific needs they tried to get out and hit today. And I think for the most part, they did exactly that. They really wanted to fortify the secondary and, get some more guys from the defensive line. We know some guys leaving after this year. I think for the most part, they've done pretty well.
They seem to check every box. They needed a quarterback in the class. Yeah. They got that. Look, they just announced Marvin Jones Jr., a Florida State legacy who was a Georgia commit. Who do you think the biggest one was for them today, though?
Ooh, man, there's several of them. They got the 5-star running back Branson Robinson to plug into that running back group. Barry Alexander, I know folks in Texas are very familiar with. That was definitely a huge pickup. Then you look at what they did in the secondary. Jaheim Singletary, the top-ranked cornerback, according to Rivals, was another, tremendous pickup. Julian Humphrey, another one. Just another guy who's probably be able to step right in and get some really extensive playing time. Dalen Everett, another cornerback. They really, ton of teams were after. So probably those would be my main ones right there. But you mentioned, getting Marvin Jones just a little bit ago. Another just a tremendous pickup for Kirby Smart.
Anthony, what was kind of the focus or the theme for this class in your mind as far as the must-haves at certain positions and what they had to get done? And then obviously a lot of that comes with just the extras of,
may be loaded at a certain position, but you always want more. But what was kind of the main focus or theme and then the main objectives that they needed to accomplish with this class?
Well, no doubt the secondary. I mean, that's even with the guys they've got. I mean, Kirby Smart talked about that today. They're still are down in numbers for what he would like to be. But I mean, look at what the team has right now as far as cornerbacks, safeties are going to be back next year. They are scratching bare bottom. They really are. They really had to do a great job of bringing in not just some numbers, but some talented kids as well. Because again, you're talking about some of these true freshmen. I think next year they're going to have a chance not just to play, but perhaps start. With at least one of the cornerback spots for next season. So getting those guys in the secondary was definitely the number one goal for Georgia and Kirby Smart this year.
Anthony, when you're good, when you're elite, we know what Nick Saban has had with his coaching staff. There are head coaches everywhere, including the one at Georgia, Kirby Smart. Now, yep. Dan Lanning's at Oregon, among others that are moving on. It's part of being successful. It's a great compliment as well. It's a great opportunity for Dan Lanning. What are your thoughts about what he could do for Oregon as a head coach?
I think he's going to bring, number one, just a ton of energy. I mean, he's cut out of a lot of that same cloth that Kirby Smart is, as far as just really being really energetic. The kids love playing for him, and I dare say he's going to do a fine job of recruiting. Out in Oregon, for the Ducks. He's just going to bring I think his experience of what the teams he's worked with. I think he's going to do an outstanding job. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of success he has.
And they've replaced him with Will Muschamp, right?
Well, Will Muschamp and Glenn Schumer, technically co-defensive coordinators, but I'm sure when it comes to calling the plays, Will, with his experience, will probably get the most of those. But we'll see. I mean, they really like Glenn Schumer. Thinks he's one of the up-and-coming stars in the coaching profession.
Anthony, let me ask you this. I mean, NIL has obviously become such a big deal, and for those of us that cover college football, it's a new reality, and it's something that's just going to be a part of it moving forward. How has Georgia adjusted that over the last year, and how much do they seem to not rely on but benefit from NIL? Is that something that's a strength or something that's still kind of a work in progress? Because, I mean, obviously people are going to pick Georgia just because it's Georgia, but how much have they gotten involved in that game as well?
Well, not as much as you might think. I mean, I know a lot of these kids now, they look at what the schools can do for them as far as NIL deals go, but you're not really seeing a whole bunch of that at UGA right now. I say that it's something, in light of the news today, that's something they may have to address moving forward. But so far, it has not been something that's they've really put a lot of focus in. But like I said, what happened today, that could definitely change the season to come.
All right, Anthony, we appreciate it. Again, Georgia's like clockwork. We're not done yet. Anthony Dasher, again, UGA Sports, with us on Georgia's National Signing Day class.
You think we'll have Anthony on again in the next couple of weeks? Because if not, I want to ask you about this Michigan game, this Orange Bowl coming up on December 31st, Anthony. Playoff for the Bulldogs and the Wolverines, obviously new to the party, but coming in hot. Your thoughts? Obviously, Georgia in that SEC championship game, not the result that they wanted. How do you see them bouncing back, and how do you see them matching up with the Wolverines?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Michigan's obviously a different style of team than Alabama is, and more of a physical, running style team. That may be a better matchup for Georgia's defense. And that's what Georgia defensively, I think, is maybe better equipped to handle. Now, they did talk a lot about some of the players from the defense, and they spoke about how they tried some different things against Alabama, which obviously did not work too well against the Titans. So if they do have to play again, you see Georgia maybe kind of go back to what they were doing all year defensively, try instead of trying the tweaks that they did, especially in the secondary, they got to burn several times up at a time.
Hey, Anthony, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We might be back in touch here pretty soon between now and, of course, the semifinal games on New Year's Eve. Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com, with us on Georgia's class. A&M, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas right now, pretty much set in whatever order you want to put. And, of course, it's great when you're number one, and now develop them. You have stars. And as even Connor Jordan, the young man from Cooper and Lubbock, decide, once you get on campus, those stars disappear. Well, not for sometimes those who have the stars, how they feel about how they should be treated or who they are. It's about developing them. And if you get enough of 4s and 5s, and then you also develop them and you make them accountable, then yes, then you can be Alabama or maybe Georgia or Ohio State among Oklahoma and a few others as well.
Yeah, that's very fitting to move into this. I mean, one school that celebrated signing day pretty much every year, and the once or twice that they did not celebrate it to the level that they normally have, it'd be Texas and towards the end of the Mac Brown tenure when they weren't, number one in the country every year all of a sudden. And I just saw this note from Jeff Howe, who we're going to talk to, right?
Yeah, in the very next segment.
Okay. Sarkisian said there could be upwards of 36 new scholarship players on their roster next year.
Well, I mean, he's going to, and I'm not surprised because he was gonna throw players into the transfer portal like crazy, and he should have, because that was probably their biggest issue this year was guys who just hadn't bought in. And, I mean, you heard the coach on the bus. The transfer portal's always open for you, and they've already lost a few guys to the transfer portal, none of which that I don't think they're going to miss all that much, and probably going to lose at least one of those quarterbacks, Casey Thompson or Hudson Card, if not both.
And a lot of those guys that are into the transfer portal, we were celebrating them 3-4 years ago, 4 stars. Yeah, exactly.
Here's one thing about it, though. Charlie Strong also, remember, evaporated. I've used that word too much, some of that roster. It was built up as a big deal. The culture changed. It's still about, can you fit? Can you win? Can you cultivate? Can you, again, get them to play at a high level? And if you get enough of those big boys, enough of the high-level stars, yes, if you get them to do that and they're that talented with an upside, it can work even better. When we come back, we'll check in with UT. Steve Sarkisian's press conference is up. And Jeff Howe, the Longhorn Blitz and the Horn in Austin, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of Highway 84 in Waco. I have all the incentives when they have the Ford, the Ram trucks, along with what they have with Buick and also, of course, with Jeep. All the discounts, all the incentives, all much more. I want to tell you about a story when I went in to get my oil changed. Now, you would think that's not a big deal, and it shouldn't be. But I remember getting the text that said, hey, it's time for you to have your oil changed, a car that I bought on their lot. And I went in there, and it was great. And it didn't take very long. And then I had a car that I drove around for, I think, maybe about 3 or 4 hours, came back, and my car was ready to go. Every time I've been there with something, it's always been very simple. It hasn't been complicated. I haven't had to wait in line to get my car even checked in. I haven't had to worry about waiting an extra 2 or 4 or even longer, maybe the next day, to pick it up. It has been great. The service department, the parts department, and then, of course, yes, they sell cars. That's what, of course, puts them and keeps them in business, whether pre-owned or the greatness of what they have with Ram and Buick and Jeep. All of the incentives, dealer discounts, and more. Alan Samuels, as you get closer and closer to Christmas, and maybe that is a gift for you or someone else, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right. As we continue to kind of go through those who had the highest ranked classes, there's still more to come, even later on today or tomorrow or in February. We've dropped in, of course, with Baylor, as we should. Jordan Neighbors of Rockwall Heath, also Kyler Jordan from Cooper High School in Lubbock, and we were able to watch live Armani Winfield commit from Louisville to Baylor just a few moments ago. We have Ohio State still to come, but now Jeff Howe, who joined us earlier in the week on UT, which has had this surge towards the end. They do this a lot, and they've done it again, and they've won more than not today. And Jeff joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I know they're not going to win every head-to-head battle, but what was Steve Sarkisian's message today about their class so far today?
Big humans, Smokey. That's kind of the theme in Austin today. When you look at the blue chips Texas is added in this class, you look at the 24/7 Sports composite, for instance. They have 19  4- and 5-star prospects. 11 of those guys are line of scrimmage players. If you include Malik Ogbo, the 4-star offensive tackle out of the state of Washington, who about a half hour ago announced that he was heading to Texas. So that's offensive linemen, that's edge rushers, and that's interior defensive linemen. So look, Texas, it was one of the worst rush defenses in school history, even though the offense was productive. Everybody that watched Texas last year knew and could tell that offensive line had a lot of problems. And look, I know that's a position where you need to develop some guys, but Sark was pretty blunt about it with us just now. He said, look, if guys are talented enough and you trust them to know what they're doing when you put them on the field, he's never going to limit a kid's ceiling. He's not putting it past us that a lot of these kids can play in 2022. So it is definitely a changing of the guard. I mean, Texas has had big line of scrimmage classes before, but I can't remember one that was this robust in terms of numbers. But when you look top to bottom, it's a lot of talent in a lot of areas in this class.
Jeff, how much did the recent NIL news start this wave of large humans?
I know that's what a lot of people are going to look at, Paul, but I do think Texas was pretty far down the road with a lot of these guys in terms of the relationships that they were building. There was talk, back in recent as September, as late as September, that Texas was in a really good position to flip Kelvin Banks. Malik Ogbo visited for the Oklahoma State game in October, and that was really when that thing started to get flipped. Could it have helped with one or two guys? Maybe, but I think that it'd be disingenuous to say Kyle Flood and his staff didn't put in any work on these kids. So could it have impacted some of the decisions? I'd be naive to think that it didn't play maybe a little bit of a role, but Kyle Flood did a really, really good job of establishing relationships with all 6 of these offensive linemen that he took in the class.
Jeff, how did the Quinn Ewers news how did that go with Malik Murphy? Obviously, I mean, he's still signed and he's on his way, and I don't think that he ever faltered at all. But I mean, how does that kind of throw maybe not a wrench, but change plans, I guess, moving forward?
Yeah, not a ton, Craig. I mean, they were upfront and honest with him. Back to probably the early part of the season, probably the first quarter of the season, that they were going to look and make this a 2-quarterback class. And I think for as much as you can be, I think Malik Murphy understood that. Now, Devin Brown, a 4-star passer out of the state of Utah, was the kid that they kind of wanted, and he ends up signing with Ohio State. There was a former USC commit. Devin Brown was kind of the guy that they targeted. It just so happened that things fell into place, and it ended up being Quinn Ewers. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know that Malik Murphy was all that excited about it being Quinn Ewers, knowing just the talent that he has and the pedigree he has. And quite frankly, the hype that he's coming to Texas with. But, at the end of the day, I think the fact that Steve Sarkisian and A.J. Milwee were up front with him saying, look, we want to take 2 quarterbacks. And that's on top of Craig, him mentioning today and reinforcing the fact that he was asked point blank, hey, what did you tell Casey Thompson and Hudson Card and Charles Wright, your scholarship quarterbacks on campus right now, about the situation? Sark said, we told those guys, look, we want to add these 2 high school guys we're recruiting. This high school guy we're recruiting, this transfer, at a minimum, they were going to add 2 bodies, and that quarterback job is going to be open in January. So, but as far as Malik Murphy goes, I think it did. Again, I don't know that he was all that thrilled that it was Quinn Ewers, but I just think the fact that they were up front with him about this being a 2-quarterback class, that kind of softened the blow a little bit. But it's Sark even said it today. Quinn Ewers, because he is a transfer and basically got that, I don't know, an internship, if you want to call it, with the 3 snaps he got at Ohio State. He is going to be draft eligible a year earlier. So that, I think for Malik Murphy, that makes it a little more palatable than it otherwise would be.
Jeff, this is true serum. Texas has been ranked high when it comes to national rankings every single, basically, year. When it comes to recruiting, they always make a surge, whether it's Charlie Strong or Tom Herman and now Steve Sarkisian. And what they've done is make up for a lot of lost ground, no question, in the last week or two. What's to believe that this team is different than anything else we've seen for the last decade?
That's a $64,000 question, Smokey, and that's something that we're not going to find out until due time. That's going to be determined on if, look, Steve Sarkisian, when he took the job, one of the things he talked about from the jump is that this staff wanted to be a great developmental staff. And we're about to find out if they are, because you're going to have a lot of really, really good raw tools to work with. I think the other thing, and this is something we talked about the other day when I was on with you guys, I think the fact that Texas, from an administrative view, has been really honest with themselves, it feels like, about where they are and what needs to happen with this football program in terms of giving a coach time to try to do it the right way. That's been another part of the problem. I mean, you look, Charlie Strong got to year 2 and you already have massive coaching turnover. Tom Herman, well into year 3, it was looking like you were going to have some kind of massive staff overhaul. We know the overhaul Mac Brown went through after the 2010 season. So I just think that's part of it too. It's hard to be a good developmental program when there is constant coaching turnover. That hasn't been the only problem, but it's been part of the problem. So I guess if I had to give you an answer to that, Smokey, I would say maybe from an organizational standpoint and administrative standpoint, it does feel like things are different just from the point of view, the lens those guys are looking at it through, than it's been in the past.
Jeff, Armani Winfield picked Baylor over Texas just a few minutes ago. I mean, you've obviously followed him. At one time, he was a Texas commit. Since we also cover Baylor, I mean, just your thoughts on him as a player and what Dave Aranda and the Bears are getting.
Yeah, they're getting a guy that can stretch the field vertically. That's the kind of receivers. Actually, that's what Texas wanted them. That's the kind of guy Steve Sarkisian wants, a guy that can get it done in the short passing game. You can use him in the short game, whether it's the hitches, the bubble screens. He can run those rainbow crossers. He can run the vertical game. A guy, I think probably now, I don't know how he would time, but probably a guy really similar to Tyquan Thornton if you're a Baylor fan trying to look for a one-to-one comp in terms of what you're getting with Armani Winfield. He's a really, really talented wide receiver. Texas, he was committed to Texas at one point, backed off that Texas. At one point, we had people close to Armani Winfield telling us at points today that it looked like it was going to be Texas. But this is one Dave Aranda, that staff should really, really feel good about going in and winning a legitimate head-to-head battle against Texas. And a program in Michigan State, quite frankly, Sid Mel Tucker and those guys are doing a really good job recruiting.
So I saw Sark's comment about 36 new scholarship players potentially. I think that's like the second time in the last few weeks that he's mentioned, they could have a pretty large group of new faces. So 36 new guys. I mean, they've signed a bunch today, obviously, but what's still out there on the table for them? Is there anything left today? And then obviously moving forward, what's the landscape kind of look like for them?
Yeah, Craig, I'm going to have to get reacquainted with terms like gray shirting and blue shirting. I don't know how many different kind of shirts there are, but I think I'm about to pull up an NCAA manual and figure it out in probably the next couple hours. But you look at what's left for them. I mean, Denver Harris, the 5-star corner out of Galena Park North Shore, that's one that's trended Alabama at various times. It's trended LSU at various times. It's looking like it's coming down to a head-to-head battle between Texas and Texas A&M. If I had to go to Vegas and put money down and bet on this, I would probably still bet on the Aggies. But Texas feels like they're right in the thick of it with Denver Harris. I think also now you start looking at the transfer portal and where Texas can potentially add guys. We've been reporting for a while now, even before Sark talked about it today, loosely. I think they're going to kick the tires on a veteran quarterback. I don't think he wants to run the risk of Casey Thompson and or Hudson Card transferring and not having a veteran guy in that room to compete with Quinn Ewers. I think you'll see them still look for veteran help on the offensive line. Losing Armani Winfield, I think now wide receiver becomes a really, really pivotal part of this thing as far as their transfer portal acquisition. And then safety. I know they got some really good corners today. They were able to flip Terrence Brooks, the 4-star corner from Little Elm, flipped him from Ohio State. Xavier Bryce is a really dynamic athlete out of Arlington. The dean they like in the secondary, but you lose B.J. Foster, you lose Chris Adamora. You've lost a lot of safety talent in the last 2 years, and that's a position I think where Texas is really going to try to focus on in the transfer portal. And then I know they kick some tires on some guys at inside linebackers. So, look, when you talk about Texas, and you guys saw the eye test, saw it firsthand, there is not, other than maybe running back, there's not a position group on this roster that couldn't have stood to get a talent infusion in the offseason, and I think you'll see that reflected by the time the dust settles.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Appreciate you for jumping on with us a couple of different times to kind of summarize so far today. And also, good question, Craig, on Armani Winfield, the young man from Louisville who committed today to Baylor and signed with them as well. Thanks, Jeff. Good luck kind of learning all those new things. Yeah, all those new things that you learn on gray shirts, red shirts, all the other things as well.
Extra years of eligibility, there's so much to sort through.
If you can shove enough guys you don't want into the portal, you may not have to do that with anything because you might have the number available.
It's like a body cleansing.
I'm glad you asked the question that you did, because if you didn't, I was going to ask it about why this is any different than every other year. Because when you're saying that you're going to go get 36 new players potentially, that means a bunch of dudes that you signed and celebrated the last 2, 3, 4 years did not work out.
Yep.
And if you look at them, a lot of those guys are 4-stars. And then there's also some transfers as well, guys just wanting to see what the other side of the fence looks like. But, yeah, I mean, that means that you've signed great classes and you've whiffed on a lot of those potentially great players. Now, they've hit on a lot of them too, just not enough. So is this the class where they hit on the majority and this is the turning point, the finishing touches on the players already on campus like Xavier Worthy or Quinn Ewers or Bijan Robinson? We'll see. I mean, those guys they're going to be on a short leash though. I mean, Bijan's got, a year left? I mean, probably a year. Quinn Ewers will probably play 2, it sounds like. I mean, he's already planning his NFL future where he'll go take a pay cut, basically. And Xavier Worthy, I wouldn't anticipate he's a guy who's going to be around past a couple of years. So they'll have a couple of years, if not a year, next season with Bijan and Ewers and all that contingent together. But, yeah, it's a great class. There's no doubt about it. And you just have to hope, if you're a Texas fan, that you actually hit on these guys, and these are the difference makers, and not 4 years from now or 2 years from now, Steve Sarkisian's up there. And granted, if he's having to say this again, then he's probably not up there at the podium if he's saying they need 36 new players again, or they're going to have 36 new players. So great class on paper. Now you got to go prove it on the field, and that's the story for every school in America right now.
Some of you show Memo, who's talking about how Texas won't be as bad as they were this year. My God, surely, if you're a Texas fan, or even you, but I can already see it. They get Ewers, they get this high class. They're going to have a lot of guys coming back from a team that was not at any shape, form, playing well. And they'll be right back where most of the time people put them.
If they're in the same position next year, Sarkisian's fired. I mean, if they're having to go get 36 new faces next year, then he's fired, because that would be unacceptable to have to.
But that's also their problem, right? That they don't let.
That's what I'm saying is, like, they got to make sure this class is actually hits and not just a few hits and a bunch of misses, and half these guys end up in the transfer portal. Now, I think if you look at most recruiting classes, like I even went back to Baylor's 2017-18 class with Matt Rule, and that there was a bunch of stars in that class that became stars in Waco, but that was like half the class. The other half never even played it down or wasn't here more than like a year or whatever, and that's just kind of the reality of signing classes anyways, is not all of them are always going to be hits, but when you're signing 35 plus players potentially, you better hope a majority of them are hits, and for him, timing wise, they got to make sure of that as well.
From S. Michael, UT has a massive culture problem. I think they've actually admitted that finally. I think they've actually admitted that, and they've said they've tried to fix it before. You have a lot of schools that are used to winning that the last not just 2 or 3 years, but 10 years have struggled quite a bit. Well, some of them will come back, some of them won't. Some will talk culture, some will say they're changing it. It sometimes just doesn't work. But UT did make a hell of a nice run, and we also know that they benefited maybe more than anybody because of the NIL opportunities as well, especially on the offensive line. And hey, if you can do it, do it. If you can.
Look. It's kind of like Major League Baseball and steroids. Like, when there were no rules, why would you not use steroids?
Yeah.
They weren't testing for it. They didn't ask you. You can make a bunch of more money. And with Texas admitting that you have a problem is the first step to solving it. And they have for years. National championships are often the best and worst things that happen to schools. It's the best thing you're ever going to experience as a fan, but then everything after that doesn't taste the same. Instead of eating, Kobe beef, you're eating flank steak, and it's one of those things. So then, as fans, you go like, why isn't this working? Well, it's flipping hard to win a national championship no matter how well you recruit. And secondly, it makes players that come into a place that haven't earned it not know. Like, they don't know what the other guys went through.
Alabama and Clemson have done in recent years, and I know Clemson this year fell back for their standard. What they've done is make it look like it's easy, and it's not.
Texas' biggest problem, and I will say this, and again, I don't want to make this sound negative. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm talking negative about them, because I just feel like we're talking about them like we would anybody else. But I know that they can be a little touchy at times, and I know that how this might come across, but I feel, and I've felt for years and years now, the problem at Texas has not been O-linemen or their quarterback or the coaching changes or whatever. It's been their arrogance, flat-out arrogance, that they just deserve championships and they don't have to work as hard for them as other teams do. And I think that the fact that Chris Del Conte, like the whole, like, we're Texas thing, it's like, well, that doesn't matter on the football field, like, we're Texas. It's great as a slogan, but, ultimately, I think that's as much a part of what their problem has been, is just that kind of arrogant attitude of we're just better than everybody in general, so that means we'll be better on the football field. And my point is, the fact that Chris Del Conte is acknowledging that and saying, like, yeah, that's a problem, and then maybe Sarkisian's acknowledging that and saying that's a problem, that is fantastic freaking news for Texas.
As long as the players are listening.
As long as the players are listening, that is the best possible thing that could happen change-wise to that program, more so than Quinn Ewers or any O-lineman they sign, is a change in that mentality, because I think that's hurt them more than anything.
And you look at Texas as well, this is another one of those, is that one of their problems, football is the ultimate team sport. It's not an individual sport. Yes, Vince Young can take you to certain places. We understand that. But it's the ultimate team sport, and you can't win because it's a fantasy football league team with everybody being a dynamic 5-star. That's never happened before, and it doesn't always work, even though, again, you'd rather have more than less. All right, now, so this one here from Aaron, Texas. I don't know if this is who put this one. Texas needs an enema from Phil Venzor.
And I mean that as a compliment as far as like if the attitude has changed. I really, truly believe that is the biggest hang-up that they've had is a lot of guys have shown up on campus and felt like we're Texas. Why? Because that's what they're told. You know, it's the whole mentality. And so you get out there and then you play Baylor, there's no weird Baylor going on. It's a bunch of kids who are put their heads down, grind, and whatever. And I know the UT guys do too. But the attitude that they carry over onto the field is a little bit different, right? The mentality is a little bit different. You got some hungry, underrated, or perhaps like barely even rated guys going up against the guys who they were in the same class with. They were 4 stars and 5 stars and getting all the attention. And they finally get to fight them. And what do? The underdog goes and punches them in the mouth. And the guy who's been touted so much doesn't really know how to respond. And we've seen that happen to them. So the mentality change is a good thing for the folks in Austin. And great class.
When we come back, a note about Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral and the Sugar Bowl, plus much more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. Look, you got holiday parties coming up this weekend. You've got things going on, whether it's craft beer, whether it's whiskey, whether it's wines, other spirits. They've got it all at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Great customer service. If you're trying to figure out something, like I was at a craft beer exchange this weekend, they helped me with that. There was a lady in there getting some different things for a party that she'd called ahead and ordered, and they'd set up that order for her. And she even added a couple things when she said, "Oh, this is maybe not going to be everything that I need." They helped her with that. In and out the door really fast. They keep it moving through. And again, I've said that drive-through line is amazing and moves like a NASCAR pit crew. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Jay from Pickup Outfitters here with your holiday gift-giving guide. So it seems the air fryer is an, air quotes, hot Christmas gift this year. An air fryer? Come on, really? First, an air fryer is not a real fryer. It has no grease. It's a mini convection oven. And you probably already have one of those in your house. So you're just wasting money on something that's not even real. You know what is real? A grill guard. It's made of real steel and it protects the truck of someone you love. And you can get one for that special person on your Christmas list at Pickup Outfitters. So avoid common Christmas gift mistakes like house slippers, a beard, nose, ear, hair, and eyebrow trimmer. Or a man purse? You better not. Give a Christmas gift that says, I love you. A grill guard, a toolbox, running boards, and other great gifts at Pickup Outfitters. You can even get a gift certificate to let them pick out whatever they want. Pickup Outfitters is the Christmas gift headquarters. 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
The Big Finish sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels. The new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab has values up to $6,750 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 bonus cash. First responders get an extra $500. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Big Finish sales event is now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Single coverage, end zone, shape, and it is caught for a touchdown. Tyquan Thornton with Christian Holmes all over.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
If you were watching a little less than an hour ago up in Louisville, Armani Winfield, an Under Armour All-American wide receiver from Louisville High School, gave his commitment and signed with Baylor. And he now joins us here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Armani Winfield with us, with Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Armani, thank you very much for your time. In the end, you had a lot of people, a lot of elite teams after you. Baylor's a Big 12 champion. What was the difference in your decision to pick Baylor?
The relationships I had with the coaches, Coach Aranda, Coach Juice, Coach Stuckey, it's just with them guys, man, I felt comfortable, and the vibe was just immaculate. And, you know, it felt like home when I was there.
Did you waver very much, or was it just investigating all your options?
Say it again?
Did you waver any much in your commitment? Did it ever get dicey, or were you just making sure you investigated all your options?
Investigating all my options.
You were committed earlier to Texas, and then, of course, everybody was after you, and they should be because you're dynamic at what you do. You mentioned Dave Aranda. I think Juice Johnson had a lot to do with this, along with many others. What about your relationship with Juice?
Man, Coach Juice, me and him go back 4 years, you know. And so he been recruiting me for a long time. He's seen me grow as a person, as a man. And so, you know, when I decommitted from Texas, and I was really looking for a home, somewhere I wanted to be comfortable, someone who was familiar with me, I was familiar with, Coach Juice was the person I went to.
So, Armani, have you talked to any of the coaches since you made it official here in the last few minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was their reaction like?
Man, I actually told them boys last night, them coaches pumped. I'm talking about, it's 11 o'clock at night. They kissing their children to sleep, but they took time out their day to hop on the phone with me and just, you know, it was a party on the phone.
It was a party on the phone. That might be a T-shirt. It was a party on the phone.
It was a party on the phone.
Armani Winfield, who was, we had Garrett there. He was filming your announcement today on the stage at Louisville High School. We showed that, and that was a moment. Armani, I got to believe it. I know that there were others that thought they were going to get you. What was it
Absolutely.
like when you finally were able to say it? Was it hard to kind of keep it inside until you had to say it at least publicly, other than what you said to the coaches last night?
Man, yeah, because everybody wondering where I'm going. My phone buzzing all day. I had to turn my phone off. When I'm walking around school, everybody in school, where you going, Imani? Where you going? It was hard because I was excited, but I kept my mouth shut.
So how relieved are you right now? I mean, what was the recruit? I guess it's kind of a two-part question for you, Monty. What was the recruiting process like? I mean, we look from the outside looking in, and we see the visits and the pictures and all of that. But to actually go through it and all those phone calls and texts, I mean, it's got to be such a grind. So what was that process like? And then just what was the relief like to have the process over with?
It was very stressful finding a new home. Within the span I had like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And so there was a lot of things going on, but me and my family, we just came together because we're real close and made a solid decision.
Yeah, those green and gold balloons came out of that corner pretty quickly on stage, didn't they?
Bad. I'm telling you, we was that excited.
You could tell. You could tell. We had Jordan Neighbors on, and you know Jordan at Rockwall Heath, another elite wide receiver in a class that needed to bring in wide receivers because there's some great ones leaving. Have you guys shared much together about the new wave of the wide receivers at Baylor?
Not yet, but I'm pretty sure in the next couple hours or so, me and him will chop it up.
So, Armani, what's it like to get to know Dave Aranda? Because, I mean, we see him at press conferences and whatnot. He's definitely grown a little bit more personable over the last year. He's not as shy as he was, but he's still a quiet dude. What's it like getting to know Coach Aranda personally?
Man, Coach Aranda, man, I love that guy. I was just recently at his house, official visit I was on, and he's a cool, calm, collected person. And he shows he shows that he's always cool, calm, and collected at any given moment. And, as a coach, as a player, I want to be around a coach who's cool, calm, and collected and don't let the emotions get the best of him. Because we all seen that picture, and we all seen that picture against Oklahoma State where we thought we won the game. But you look at Coach Aranda, he's locked in. He's focused on the game. The game, you got 30 seconds left. There's still a ball to play, It's just being under a coach like that, I feel comfortable. He's a mastermind.
Wait a minute. When you said when we won the game, that was a couple of weeks ago. So you were already feeling it even 2 weeks. You just gave it away, young man.
Yeah,
you got me. You got me.
Blew up the spot.
You got me.
Well, I had to ask you this. We're talking that Big 12 championship, and you're right. That's such a funny video, and somebody actually posted that GIF, Dave Aranda's reaction to Armani Winfield, and it was him just sitting there like he always does. But I'm sure he is ecstatic. But just in terms of that Big 12 title game, seeing them, had a couple losses that hurt, but kept fighting, kept winning, and got themselves into that game. The goal line stand, obviously. Just what were your thoughts on the heart that they showed and the fight that they showed against the Cowboys?
They were relentless. And the relentless team is a great team, and that's just what I want to be a part of.
Armani, I know you got to go. You gave us time we didn't expect. We appreciate you very much. Great to have the decision live on our show earlier because, as we said, we didn't know either. And good for Baylor, good for you, Juice Johnson, everybody on staff pumped up. And thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
So appreciate you.
You too, sir. That's Armani Winfield from Louisville, the 4-star wide receiver, also Under Armour All-American. He gave something away when he said when we won the game or when we stopped Oklahoma State.
Well, or maybe he's just official now, and he's like, hey, it's we. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was crossing through his head. I mean, you never know. Obviously, there was a lot of smoke about, where he might end up. But it's Baylor, and it's a big pickup for them to get an addition on signing day that wasn't entirely expected is a big deal for this group of coaches and for this program. And they do need help at wide receiver because while they've got some guys, they don't have anybody that's real proven behind the players that will be leaving. So they need some new guys to come in and make an impact. And Armani Winfield certainly is going to be one of those guys. So, yeah, big-time addition for the Bears.
Armani Winfield, Louisville High School. And in fact, Ohio State was a part of that conversation at one point as well.
I have to mention this before we get to our guest. Corey Gordon has officially signed, so Baylor is 20 for 20, with Winfield being number 20 today. But Gordon was the last one, and now he is officially signed, so they've signed all 20 players that they were expected to sign.
Joey Kaufman covers Ohio State. We've had Joey on this show, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports on YouTube. Joey, Ohio State, kind of where you expect them to be, whether it's 1 or 4 or 6 or 5, whatever. Your thoughts overall, what's been the reaction to Ryan Day and his class today?
Mostly a drama-free class for Ohio State today. There was one exception this morning. They lost one of their commitments, Terrence Brooks, to Texas. He had his signing at the Star up in Frisco for you guys, and switched to Texas and go to the home state school. But other than that, they signed. They had 19 commits coming into the day, and they signed 17 of those, with one more coming on Friday, and they're going to have another top 5 class. So overall, they've kept things intact despite some questions about what the defensive staff is going to look like. Ryan Days are bringing in a new defensive coordinator, and at least one assistant is going to be on his way out to create an opening for that. So I think overall for them, they're able to kind of do what they needed to do and bring most of the guys that had already been committed into the fold despite some of the uncertainty.
Well, it's Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State coming on board at Ohio State. Joey, seeing as they were so successful on defense, that wouldn't have really shaken things up too much on the defensive commitments, right?
No, I would have to think Jim Knowles would be a big selling point to commitments, but I think it's largely a question of if you are a defensive end, if you are a linebacker, if you are a safety or a corner, you want to know who you're going to be your position coach. And Jim Knowles and Ryan Day are going to reevaluate what the staff looks like in January. So it gets a little bit of a question hanging in the air about what the position coach might be. But at least as far as the head coach and your coordinator, you would have both of those things fairly set in stone, which is, I guess, a lot more saying than other programs across the country when you consider all the movement between head coaches and coordinators.
So, Joey, you talked about kind of the reaction from recruits on Jim Knowles or what have you, but what's kind of the reaction amongst just the Buckeyes faithful in terms of the Knowles announcement and what the expectations are and how he might fit in with Ryan Day's staff?
I think the fan base is pretty overjoyed with getting somebody like Jim Knowles, because basically what Ohio State did is they went out and got the best defensive coordinator who was available on the market, who didn't necessarily have ties to Ohio State, didn't have ties to Ryan Day, and they just went out and got him, and they're going to pay him almost $2 million a year to coordinate the defense for Ohio State. And you look at the way Ryan Day had formulated his staff at Ohio State through the first couple of years, it had been a lot of internal promotions. It was bringing back Kerry Combs, a former Ohio State assistant from the NFL, to come coordinate the defense. It was Jeff Hafley was very successful from the jump, but he was somebody who even had ties to Ryan Day. So I think the fact that Day was able to go out and poach somebody of that caliber, I think, was very reassuring to the fan base.
Is there any consternation over the loss of Quinn Ewers?
Any what about Quinn Ewers? Sorry, I missed you there.
Any consternation, hand-wringing? Is anybody really all that worried about it?
Not really, because you have C.J. Stroud coming back next year, and you also have Kyle McCord, who's the backup to C.J. Stroud, who is a 5-star quarterback. I mean, I think there's a school in the country who has the luxury of quarterback talent. It's no one like Ohio State. I mean, they just stockpile a highly ranked quarterback in every class. So I think as far as that position goes, as long as Ryan Day is in Columbus, I think they're going to have a talented quarterback waiting in the wings. And they have that with Kyle McCord. They brought in another guy in Devin Brown from Utah, who's the 6th best quarterback prospect in this class. So I think they're okay at that position, even despite losing Quinn Ewers.
So Ohio State's had a lot of success in the state of Texas over the years, especially the last few years. J.T. Barrett even going back, a few more years. And right now, I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson at wide receiver are 2 absolute studs. There is a Seoul, Texas signee in this class with Caleb Burton out of Lake Travis High School. The same stomping grounds as Garrett Wilson, as a matter of fact. But what are your thoughts on Caleb Burton and what he adds from the Lone Star State?
Well, same high school as Gary Wilson, and you're right. They've been very successful going down to Texas and being able to get really those top tier receivers. I think Caleb Burton's one of 4 in this class, and they like all those guys and good route runners. And I think his stock was hurt a little bit by just being. I think he was hurt earlier in his high school career, and that maybe had an effect on his ratings. But they've brought in 4 receivers in this class, like all of them, and I think that's going to. They'll certainly all have a chance to get on the field because they're going to lose a fair bit of that position. You're going to lose Gary Wilson, most likely. He's draft eligible. You have Chris Olave, who's a senior. Jackson and Jigba will be a junior next year. So there's going to be targets up for grabs.
And of course, Garrett Wilson yesterday announced as one of the top 5 finalists for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award as well. Which will be announced at some point in early January. Joey, it was a year in which Ohio State started slowly. The loss to Oregon was a disappointment. And then they got in. I mean, they went on a run. I know it didn't end the way they wanted. They pounded Michigan State the way they did, and then the loss to Michigan. What is the mindset as they get ready for a bowl game? They're Ohio State. We know they're loaded. Ryan Day's a hell of a coach. What is the mindset to finish out the year and not let this thing slip into a back-to-back loss?
It's really searching for motivation, and Ryan Day has preached that to the team. It's not the playoff, but it's the Rose Bowl. It's still a marquee game, and you want to play your best in Pasadena on New Year's Day. And I think that's going to be the challenge for them going forward because you look at a team like Utah, this is the first time they've ever been in the Rose Bowl. The first time their fan base has had the chance to go and play in that game. It's the first time they've won the Pac-12, so you don't really worry about that question for Utah. But it's not too hard to see a scenario where Ohio State has a few opt-outs and maybe is still sulking from the Michigan loss. They're going to have to show up and play, and I think that's sort of a question we're never really fully going to know until kickoff and just how they look, because they'll say, I'm sure, all the right things in the next couple of weeks, but nobody really truly knows how up for this game they'll be until you kick the ball off and it's up in the air.
Go ahead. As you know, Baylor's Dave Aranda, his name was at least mentioned by some as a candidate X, Y, and Z. He's Baylor's athletic director, Mac Rhodes, as we reported a month ago, saying that they're taking care of him, a new enhanced, as he used the word, contract, and also his staff as well. Ryan Day today was asked, in fact, about the NFL because someone has brought that up, and his response was pretty emphatic, was it not?
He said there's no truth to the talk about him in the NFL, and he likes Ohio State or loves Ohio State and loves being the coach at Ohio State. And I've always tended to push back on a lot of the Ryan Day to the NFL rumors because you look at Ohio State's coaches over since Woody Hayes was the coach at Ohio State, mid-20th century. Nobody has ever willingly left Ohio State for another job. You look at Woody Hayes, you look at Earl Bruce, you look at John Cooper, you look at Jim Tressler, Urban Meyer. Everybody basically stayed at Ohio State until they couldn't be the head coach at Ohio State anymore until they were fired. And so you haven't really seen somebody leave for another job quite like that. And I think ultimately Ryan Day wants to be here, and I think he will be here for the foreseeable future anyway.
So, Joey, in closing, number 4 class in the country, 17 players out of the 18, I guess they had commits as of at last looked have officially signed. As we know, though, this is only signing day number 1, and there's also, so many other things that can happen. Resetting their class after today, what's the plan for Ohio State? What must they do? What must they address, if anything, by the time the second signing day rolls around?
So the Ryan Day thing still signed up to upwards of 20 guys or more. So there's still room for them to add 2, 3, 4 more guys to this class, and I expect they will try. And it's either through a high school senior or through the transfer portal. And I think you look at their defense, that still needs to be addressed. They didn't bring in a top shelf cornerback in this class. They had Terrence Brooks, who was their highest-ranked corner in this class, 59th overall prospect in the country. He flipped to Texas today, and they had Jaheim Singletary, who was committed back in August. He was a 5-star corner. He decommitted and ultimately signed with Georgia. So that's a position where I think they would like to get some help, and really in the secondary, I think to bulk up there. And either on the offensive or defensive line. They only have 2 defensive linemen committed in this class. That's another area where they could look to address later on this winter.
Joey, thank you very much for your time. National Signing Day. I know it's been a long day for you. And, of course, back in the day when the fax machine started going, back in the day, now, of course, it's different. Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch covers Ohio State. We've hit on 4 of the top 5 programs, most likely in the rankings. The one, Alabama, with Nick Saban having his press conference about the time we needed a guest to discuss the Crimson Tide. Yes, they're not done, and they will have an amazing staff. A couple of notes I mentioned. Matt Corral, the quarterback, at one point very much involved in the Heisman talk. A quote from him earlier in the week: "I wouldn't be in this position without them," talking about Ole Miss and the football program. "I won't just leave. I know what's on the other side, but I'm going to give these guys everything I have," as he wants to play and will play in the Sugar Bowl against Baylor. Now, this is a pretty neat note. Mel Tucker and Michigan State, they announced that Tate Meyer, one of the 4 victims of the Oxford High School shooting, is an honorary member of the Spartans recruiting class of 2022. He was a class of 23 football player, one of 4 students who were shot and killed on November 30th. And in a video posted to Twitter, Tucker says that Meyer had a passion to one day play for Michigan State, recognized his heroism and the tragic event. "We would like to welcome Tate Meyer as an honorary Spartan dog to our Proceed 2020 driven class."
That's really cool. Tate Meyer was very brave in what he did, and we'll never get to experience what he wanted to because of it. And I'm glad to see Mel Tucker and Michigan State acknowledging that.
Carson Strong from Nevada, the Wolfpack, announcing that he's getting ready to prepare for the upcoming NFL draft. The quarterback will be leaving Nevada to get ready for the NFL draft. That's where Colin Kaepernick, of course, played his college football. And then this here, Armstrong, I sent you the phone number on a tweet. Did you get that in your email on the UCLA coach? Yeah. This is the number. This is from, let's see here, from Jacob Allen. He was saying that this number was calling him as an offer to go to UCLA, and he put it up. "I want to spread awareness. A fake UCLA coach is offering kids," he said on Twitter Sunday. "I was one of them. I can't believe someone would actually do this to guys who have worked so hard for their dreams. It's unfortunate, heartbreaking, but God is good and has a plan."
What an effing loser.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, what a loser to pretend to be an Ohio State football, or did you say Ohio State? UCLA football coach and fake offering kids. Like, get a freaking life, dude.
Yep.
There was an old Dana Carvey bit, and it was Steve Carell and Dana Carvey on the Dana Carvey show, where they would be like idiots pulling pranks, where they would like drive up to a drive-through and order a bunch of food and give them the money and then drive off. And they're like, "Oh, we screwed him, we got him." That's what that seems like to me. Like, who are you telling? Ha, I told this kid. He said,
yeah.
Like, what's the payoff?
Who would be impressed by it? They'd be like, "Really, dude? Like, you wasted all that time punking like 17-year-olds? Like, you're an idiot."
Remember the Todd Berry story, the executive director of AFCA, when he talked about a coach who found out that a donor was offering scholarships to players, and the coach didn't even know about it, which is one of the dangers when the donors have now free reign like they do, and even with the NIL as well. Apparently, can you guys check? I think Kentucky may have landed that big, huge lineman. He may have committed to Kentucky. I'm looking at that on the chat room as well. As we, and by the way, Mayfield, Kentucky, all of what happened to Mayfield, Kentucky a week or two ago was just awful. Found this out, and for those of you who know who he is, he's a great columnist, great talk show host, and a friend of our show. Randy Galloway was born in Mayfield, Kentucky, and one of the buildings that was shredded, along with many others, was, I think he said, the first Presbyterian church where he was baptized back in 1943 as a kid, a baby, and he's donated money to the cause for those in Mayfield, Kentucky. Were you going to say something about the kid from Kentucky?
Can't do it now.
Okay. You can't?
No, not after you said all of that. No, just go ahead.
Yeah, I'm okay. I was just going to bring that up about Randy Galloway. And Kentucky and Mark Stoops continue to be a really solid football program, and they got themselves a big-time player who also is signed to them as well.
Whose name is Keontae Goodwin. That is a 5-star tackle because there's a lot of linemen obviously signing today who are big-time linemen. So, 5-star Keontae Goodwin is who you're referring to. And, that's a great addition for Mark Stoops and the Wildcats. So, good for them.
All right, Paul, someone earlier asked, and I'll let you do this in a couple of minutes, and then we break it. I'm not going to be here for the last 20, 30 minutes of the show. My laptop has a new hard drive, and that's why I'm borrowing this Mac. And
don't say it like it's disgusting. You think that's Mac, this computer that works better by every stretch of the imagination, but it's beneath me. Who doesn't even know how to work it?
Well, I have figured out a way to work it far.
This Ferrari.
Yeah. Or Lamborghini.
I spit on this.
I'm going to go back to my Ford Explorer from Alan Samuels. All right, so someone asked about Florida, of course, not top 50. They did get the 5-star, the Wilson kid, whatever. In Florida State, despite losing Hunter, they ended up with a top 15 or 18, 20 class, considering they've been back-to-back with the seasons they've had. Pretty good deal, huh?
Yeah, it is. And I saw this. David Hale, who's a national writer and covers the ACC and Florida State, Florida very well, said that, there's all these people mad at Mike Norvell today, that there's going to be chirping like, see, you should have hired Deion Sanders 2 years ago when you had the chance and, all that. And he said, look, all Mike Norvell did is, in spite of 4 losing seasons in a row, get the top 20 class. And then he had the number 1 recruit in the country committed for months and months, maybe even a year, all this time to that same school, and then lost him to the most famous Florida State alum alive today in an unprecedented move that's never happened in college football. So if you're mad at Mike Norvell for not being able to control something that no one would have ever seen coming ever and can wrap their head around, then, man, you must be the best college football coach on planet Earth that's not employed. So, I mean, it's all relative. I mean, they got the 17th, 18th, whatever class in the country, depending on the rankings. Still good, given the fact that they've not had a winning season in 4 years. And he's making good inroads, and it's just going to take time.
All right. Okay. And Florida got the 5-star. Well, that's good, though. I mean, it's good because there are a lot of teams that are struggling that did not have good classes.
By the way, a comment on Billy Napier. This so shows how smart and savvy this guy is. Billy Napier today in the press conference, when asked about recruiting, says, I love recruiting. It's the competition you get when the season's not going. As where his predecessor was like, recruiting.
Yeah.
And I call these.
So if you look at the consensus of various sites that have their team rankings, and most of them are going to be about the same. You have A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, North Carolina. Mac Brown recruits well, although he's coming off a year that was disappointing. Michigan and Oklahoma. If you go down just a little bit further, Clemson, Kentucky at 12, Missouri. That's pretty damn good for the Tigers, Oregon, and then LSU. And, of course, they've had to make up a little bit for Ed Orgeron in the transition to what they have with Brian Kelly. And Lord knows the next GIF that we have with Brian Kelly and anything. Here's the one. You mentioned this yesterday with Jeremy Crabtree. We'll have 2 national writers on tomorrow. Ari Wasserman from theathletic.com on the rankings, but also Gabe Brooks, who actually is an evaluator of talent on certain players who signed. Stanford was as once like 8, 9, 10, or 12 inside the top 20. Stanford. And they have had a good run. And they've kind of dropped a little bit of late. Oklahoma State, 22. Now, again, everybody has a different number based on whoever has their team rankings and various. But that's a hell of a nice class for Mike Gundy, and it should be as well. Iowa State at around 30. West Virginia, TCU, Baylor, all in a clump at the end of the 20s and the early 30s as well. All right, when we come back, John Machota covers the Cowboys. Boy, they were they won the game in Washington. They were winning 24-0. They end up winning 27-20, but they took care of business, and they're getting healthier, and they're getting people back even more. And now they have perhaps the game that scares the hell out of you if you've been a Cowboys fan for long enough, in a game that they absolutely, there's no way they should lose to the Giants. We'll have John Machota on that and more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Sports bettors, BetUS.com has all the action from around the world. Look, whether it is the most popular stuff that we've got here, and in that the NBA, the NHL, college football, college basketball, the NFL, PGA, all up live on their site. They've got action on almost everything around the world, so we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game. BetUS.com. Use our promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200 for BetUS.com. And that's 125% on cash or 200% bonus on cryptocurrency. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic.
Just a sneak for Prescott, and he's in. Touchdown.
Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Welcome back in. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. John Machota of The Athletic joins us to talk Cowboys. And John, you couldn't really call last week against Washington a get-right game, even though early on in the game it looked like the Cowboys had started to build some momentum. They just cannot put anything together offensively for 4 quarters or even really 2 quarters back-to-back right now. What do you think really ails them on offense in keeping them from getting that running game going?
Man, how much time do you have? No, that's my thing. It's just like with sports, everybody wants like that one answer, the 2 things, and I just don't think it's 1 or 2 things. I don't think that Dak's calf is 100% healthy. I think that that's affecting him on some throws. I think he's pressing a little bit, so it's got him forcing some throws that he normally wouldn't make. I mean, that's the thing. One of his greatest strengths throughout his entire time with the Cowboys has been his decision making. You look at those 2 picks against Washington, and it just leaves you scratching your head. And so the decision making's off there. And then the other thing is he's just not getting the best play from his receivers either, whether it be the route running or just catching passes that, maybe they're a little bit outside, but I mean, these are big-time receivers. They got to make these plays. And then it trickles down to the offensive line hasn't been great. And then not having a running game, is not putting him in great situations on 3rd down. There's just so many different things that you just kind of wonder, like, if they could just get one thing out of that, all of those things fixed, then maybe everything would kind of, start trickling back down and fitting into place. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's something that needs 3-4 games to get fixed. I think in a game or 2, you could get back on track and have, heck, it could be a couple of series where all of a sudden you're just like, this is us, this feels like the way it should be. But as of right now, I mean, this is a long sample size we got going on here. This isn't just a few weeks. I mean, this is going back to, heck, since Dak got back from the calf injury against Denver, you can just tell, like, some games worse than others, but it just left a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth the way they finished out that game against Washington. Because with how well the defense played, it never should have been, anything in doubt in any part of the 4th quarter, much less in the last few minutes.
Well, I'm glad you said that, John, because I'd like for you to expand on it a little bit. Just looking back at last Sunday, 24-0 at halftime. I mean, this thing's over, and yet get outscored 20-3 over the last 2 periods to make it a 27-20 ball game. Just what were your thoughts coming out of the Washington contest?
I was stunned at that. My biggest takeaway, if we're going to just talk about the comeback, is really just that interception that Dak threw on the pick 6 to Cole Holcomb. That one I don't care what year you're talking about, healthy, not healthy, you just don't see Dak make a play like that where he just completely doesn't see a guy. And I mean, it's just not something. I mean, that's, like I said, you can criticize throughout his time as a quarterback. It's some accuracy stuff that people like to bring up, whatever. One of his best things has been his decision making, and that was really one that left me scratching my head. So it was just one of those games where I was like, that Washington team is just so beat up with injuries and COVID that when they got out to that big lead, I was like, this is going to be like the Atlanta game. They have no chance coming back in this one. And the offense let them hang around. It was kind of stunning, because here's the thing. The way I look at it is, can the offense kind of sputter and they still win the NFC East? Of course. Like that, even offense sputtering, playing like he did against Washington, still should beat New York this Sunday. Probably should still beat Washington again, and probably even Philly too. Probably won't beat the Cardinals playing like this. So you get in the playoffs. You play like this on offense, and you're not beating the Bucs or the Packers, and probably not the Rams either. So that's the issue you run into right now. This is certainly a playoff team, but when you see what that defense has done and how guys have stepped up, it's hard not to look at this team and go, man, if you just hit this offense back to where it was these first 5 or 6 games out of the year, I mean, this is a legit Super Bowl contender, no doubt about it. If you look at the rest of the landscape of the league and the door being left open, heck, they could win out and finish with the best record in the NFC and have a bye in the first round. I mean, everything. They're getting healthy at the right time. This could be setting up for the perfect Super Bowl run. But then you go out and watch these games and see how they play on offense, and you're just like, all right, can I look myself in the mirror and be honest and say this is really a Super Bowl team? I don't know how you can.
Will they be healthy at running back at any point during the rest of the season and the postseason?
Not 100%, no. I mean, I think you get it up to maybe 75, 80%, and if you can get that out of both those running backs, that's good enough, like I said, to make a Super Bowl run. But no, they won't get either of these guys back to 100%. I mean, I think Zeke's going to wear that knee brace that he wore up in Washington for the rest of the season just because it gives his knee a little bit more stability. He was talking about that today. And then with Pollard, with the plantar fasciitis, it's one of those things where it tore partially, but actually it's strange to even describe it like this, but with plantar fasciitis, they say that when it tears completely, you actually get some relief and you can get kind of somewhat back to normal. So in a way, they're probably hoping for it to completely tear, just because I guess that's the best way to get you back to close to feeling like your normal self, at least in this stretch run, and then maybe it's something that gets taken care of in the off season. But I just don't think that with those injuries and just the way the running game is, I don't know that can get healthy by just the next few weeks, because you're not going to have any not going to have any rest. You're still going to take, hits. You're still going to, be in position. I mean, the thing is with Pollard, I mean, he did that on that long touchdown run, and that's like his strength. That's the thing you want him out there for. So it's kind of like, all right, so he breaks a couple tackles and he gets another one of these big runs. Is that going to make the foot issue worse? So to answer your question, no, I don't think that there's any way that they're completely healthy by the end of the season.
So Tyron Smith's already been ruled out after not practicing and re-aggravating the injury against Washington. John, it seems like every week for like the last few years, it's like there's always some practice, injury report on Tyron Smith. Just sort of where are they with him right now, and how much longer do you think that he can just keep holding up? Quite frankly.
Well, they could be in a good spot. I mean, if Terrence Steele ends up being the player that they think he can be, then you're in a spot where it's like you can go into next year and be like, yeah, Tyron's our guy, but we know we're probably not getting 17 games out of him. We might not get 12, maybe only get 10. Well, you got this guy that you could feel comfortable about. We're going to learn a lot more about him going forward because, Tyron's not playing in this game. Even though Mike McCarthy hasn't said it, I imagine Terrence Steele was going to be your starter at left tackle for this game. And if things go decently there, I could see them giving Tyron another week off and then letting Terrence play it another week at left tackle. And all of a sudden it's kind of like we've seen from Terrence before. We know he can play right tackle. Now maybe you develop him into your left tackle of the future. And if not, then it's one of those things where we go into the draft this year and left tackle is one of your top needs. Now you're not going to reach for it. I mean, certainly, you look at what the Cowboys have done in the draft. CeeDee Lamb falls, and I'm talking the last 2 years, Mike McCarthy's been here. CeeDee Lamb falls you, Trayvon Diggs falls you, Micah Parsons falls you. In none of those situations where you're like, that's absolutely the guy that we had to take. You took the best player available, and these are guys that are just, probably all of them have exceeded expectations. So you certainly don't want to have to reach for a left tackle, but it has to be on your radar. The idea that you're going to sit there and think that Tyron Smith all of a sudden one of these days is going to play a full season and be healthy, that's just not realistic. That's just not going to happen. So I think their hope is that Terrence Steele can be that guy for the future, and if not, it's a position that has to be considered in the draft relatively early.
John, when you look at the Cowboys over the cap for next year, do you expect to see not wholesale changes because they always get it worked out, but the new salary cap was out. They're one of the teams bought $12 million over right now. Do you expect that means that some people that we might have expected to be back won't be, or will Jerry get this all worked out?
I don't know. As I sit here right now, I would say J. Ryan Kearse better get some of that money. Randy Gregory would be a good person to try and keep around. The ones that are up in the air are like the Leighton Vander Esch's and the Michael Gallups. Like if they're going to try and get top dollar somewhere, Cowboys aren't going to pay that. They'll let those guys probably walk and go to the next stop. Keanu O'Neal, same deal. But if you got some room to spend some money on your own guys, Kearse and Randy Gregory are two great places to look. And I think that with what we saw just as glimpses against Washington, because again, Neville Gallimore and Randy Gregory back to that game, but they played 30 and 31 snaps each. I mean, that's not the full allotment of what you're normally going to see. They're going to continue to ramp that up. I mean, things could get wild in these next few weeks. This defensive line group, and with Micah Parsons mixed in rushing the passer, it's got the potential to turn this defense into something elite. And so as that happens, if you have Randy Gregory continue to make the plays that he was making against Washington, obviously his dollar amount continues to go up and his value continues to go up. It's going to be a player that they want to keep around. So when people see that number go up on the salary cap, don't think all of a sudden that it means that you're keeping all the guys that are going to be free agents. But it gives you a better opportunity to keep some of them, and Randy Gregory has to be at the top of that list.
Well, I think Randy Gregory may have won the award for a guy Jerry would never let leave under any circumstance at this point.
Yeah, as far as I'll say this: as far as since I've covered the team, I feel that way. Now, there's always, I feel like with the Cowboys, there's always people that will say like, they took a chance with Jalen Smith and Sean Lee with the injuries and things like that. But in terms of, the other issues and things like that, yeah, I mean, Randy's got to be at the top, especially if he finishes out this season the way that I think he can, as long as he stays healthy, because with that defensive line, you can't double him. There's previous Cowboys teams in the last few years where Randy playing the way he is right now is fine and dandy, but there's going to be tons of chips and doubles and things like that. Well, he's going to see some of that now, but there's only so much a team can do because Micah Parsons is now number one. As when those teams are sitting there game planning for the Cowboys and they look at the defense, number one game wrecker, number 11, Micah Parsons, and it's no doubt. So then you have after that DeMarcus Lawrence, Gregory, Neville Gallimore. Like that's a great problem to have all four of those guys pinning their ears back on third downs. I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch against Washington. I don't imagine that changing. I imagine it only getting more and ramping up as we go through the rest of this regular season and then into the playoffs.
John, what do you make of the Urban Meyer news today about he allegedly kicked Josh Lambo during pregame warmups, and it's just another notch in the belt of maybe this guy wasn't the best hire?
I can't credit one person on this because I feel like every time one of these things comes up with Urban Meyer, someone tweets this out. But it really is like one of those things where you're like, is this guy trying to get fired? Like, there's so many things. But I mean, I thought that all the way going back to like when he made that hire as the strength coach, I believe it was from Iowa. I was just kind of like, you think this is going to play well in the NFL? Like, what are we doing here? Like, are you just trying to collect the check and then get out of here because the NFL isn't actually what you thought it was going to be? It's just absolutely bizarre. And, I know that the Jags were like really dedicated and like they thought that this was going to be a long-term investment and he was going to turn around kind of like, I guess, the culture. I don't know how you would think that with Urban Meyer, but like the track record was there. He doesn't stay anywhere for a long period of time, but this one is certainly being sped up. And, every week I get the latest odds on first coach to get fired. I feel like Urban Meyer and Matt Nagy have been at the top all season long. I just don't even know if this keeps going like this. How can you even bring him back next year? It's bizarre. And hey, I'll take some blame from about 4 or 5 years ago. I put out there that would have been the best option for the Cowboys because at the time, the young Dak Prescott, who obviously, had the offense he ran at Mississippi State, very similar to what Urban Meyer's doing. Urban Meyer obviously coached Zeke to a national championship. I was like, he had the Pete Carroll thing where, Pete Carroll took over the Seahawks job. He was fresh off of being at USC. He knew all the young talent because he recruited it all. I was like, this makes tons of sense. But it's like, man, you go back 5 years and fast forward to now, and you're just like, this makes no sense for any organization to hire him. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I'd can him right now and go hire Eric Bieniemy or something like that. I mean, just to get back on track. But, yeah, the Jaguars have a long way to go. John, as far as this weekend goes for the Cowboys, I mean, the Giants aren't the best team or the sexiest team by any stretch of the imagination, but just your thoughts coming in. They fell to the Chargers last week. Thoughts on the Giants and just what kind of a matchup problem or lack thereof they present for the Cowboys?
Biggest thing I'd say, just coming off of what I saw in Washington, is in my 10 years of covering this Cowboys team, there's no other time, no question about it, that I've been going into a game looking forward to watching the other team's offense on third down more than I have this game. Like, I just can't wait to see what this pass rush is going to do with their ears pinned back. And Dan Quinn deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, coaching gets a lot of credit when you have great talent, and they have a lot of great talent up front. But to think that they're going to get a full game of Neville Gallimore, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, I mean, I just can't wait to see what the Giants are going to have to try and answer that. I mean, I just think of it from a perspective of, I'm going to take prime Tyron Smith fully healthy, even with him at the top of his game, which is certainly a Hall of Fame level. If every single snap he has to be like, on this one I might be trying to block DeMarcus Lawrence, and on this next snap maybe it's Randy Gregory. On this one it might be a stunt with Micah Parsons. that's going to have everybody's head spinning, let alone this New York Giants offensive line. Like, I just can't wait to see what they're going to try and come up with. I mean, I guess you go quick passing game. Good luck with that. Like, that's the part I'm looking forward to. Number one, obviously number two is just looking like, all right, if the offense can't get right against the Giants, like maybe they're just not going to get right this season. So obviously that's up there, but I just feel like my time covering this team has always been offense first, number one. You know, what are the receivers, running backs, offensive line, quarterback? That's always most important. This is the first time I'm going in a game where I just cannot wait to see this pass rush on third down.
Over-under, I'm setting the over-under on Will Hernandez penalties at 3.
You know what? I'll take the over on that. I mean, maybe that's the only thing that he's going to be able to result to, because you know what? Maybe the under should be the way to go now that I think about it, because maybe they won't even rush towards him. They might be running their stunts away from him because he is their most talented offensive lineman. I don't know, but their edges are in for a long day. I don't know what you can do against it. If you just have Micah Parsons, there's ways you can chip and send double teams. If you just have Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, you might be able to do that even a little bit too. But then you add in Randy Gregory and Neville Gallimore. I mean, that play Neville Gallimore had on his sack, just bull rush right through that center and then right to the quarterback, injuring 2 players on one play. I mean, you don't want to see anybody get injured, but that play was just nasty. And you can't double everybody.
No, you can't. John Machota, The Athletic.
No. We're not going to not ask about the big FSU news today.
Right. He and I have talked about it throughout the day.
Well, the public wants to know John's thoughts. John, a Seminole of all people, bringing the number 1 recruit away from FSU, Deion Sanders, the big pull to Jackson State. What were your thoughts on that as an FSU fan?
Oh, it broke my heart, ruined my day. But I will say this: this is the only positive thing I can take away from it, and it's not really a positive. It's just kind of how I deal with these things. This isn't an FSU team that's like 1 player away. I don't know what he would do, like in terms of like. I still think that next year is the year where it's like get over 500, get to a bowl game, keep building. So yeah, he obviously speeds up that process. I think the thing that bothered me probably the most is that everybody, if you're a college football fan, you follow recruiting. This is one of those guys that's been committed for a long time, and it was the guy that was like talking to other players about coming to, because this is like his class that he was in charge of. And then to flip like this right on the day of National Signing Day, yeah, this one stings a bit. It's going to take a while to get over this.
Yeah, it is. It is, John, and by the most famous living Florida State Seminole that does it to him.
Yeah,
but like you said, crazy. Paul, maybe he's their future coach. So maybe this is one of those things where it's like, it bothers you now, but maybe that's because maybe there's some positive days ahead. I sure hope so, because there's no excuse for them to be as down as long as they have been.
No, they're absolutely not. John Machota, theathletic.com, with us every Wednesday. John, have a great week, buddy.
No problem, guys. You do the same.
All right. There's John.
Did Norvell sign another year extension today?
He did. I'm happy with it. Look, again, this is unprecedented. I mean, the only thing that could have been more shocking is if the ghost of Burt Reynolds convinced him to go somewhere else. But it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Good to look in. And I'm thrilled that Travis Hunter's making a bunch of money. Good for that kid. I'm thrilled for the HBCUs. It's just that it's one of those things that, as someone who's a football fan and I want to see the sport grow and be better. This is such a weird area, which I don't know if this makes the sport better. I think it kind of makes it worse in a lot of regards. And you want to see the HBCUs grow. You see that. You just don't want to be at the expense of the school that you like.
Right.
All that. So, and it's weird. It's just going to be weird the whole time. We're not going to be able to wrap our heads around any of this college football stuff for quite a long time, until it starts making some sort of sense and there's some sort of rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how much of an impact it has on the HBCUs. I know it's kind of to become, almost trendy to root for them and to hope that they can, score more players like that. So it remains to be seen on if that can really pivot to where it's a common occurrence rather than just a big, huge, giant, surprising exception like today with Hunter. But, if a couple other guys join him along the way, then obviously there's been a shift of some sort, and that would be great news for those universities. But, I can't help but just because of the time period that we're in, just wondering, all right, is he going to be there in 2 years? Is he going to be there in 3 years? Is Deion, and we can do that with Dave Aranda in Baylor. We could do that with Sark in Texas. So it's not like it's any different than those scenarios as well. But obviously Jackson State's not going to hire another Deion Sanders. So it's like, this is great right now. I'm just curious of how long he can make it last, or how long he chooses to make it last.
I remember, there's things that said this would change the game, and maybe it will. But, Travis Hunter could be back at Florida State in 2 years. Maybe he's done what he does at Jackson State and wants to play against better talent. Florida State's on the upswing, and he really wants to go and experience school there because that was the college he wanted to go to. The NIL money probably follows him wherever he goes because if he is really that talented, then he is that talented. When Brittany Griner, this is a women's basketball comparison, so believe me, it's probably not going to be my most artful one, but I remember a lot of people saying that Brittany Griner was going to change women's basketball, and I was like, well, I mean, she's kind of unique. I mean, I don't know if she's going to change the game she plays in. Yeah. But she's not going to, it's not like all of a sudden there's a bunch of people that are that talented and that tall and that athletic all at once. I mean, she's unique. So maybe this is a unique situation. Maybe this changes some things. So we'll see. I mean, there's things that change the game and things that are just one-offs, and we'll see with what this is.
I got to tell you, the whole Barstool aspect of this, I'm going to be curious to see how that kind of plays out because based on what I was reading is they were basically joking, and it was like an open joke that Barstool was involved in him going to Jackson State through NIL or whatever. And then, even who's the main guy?
Portnoy.
Portnoy. He was like, nod, winking on some of those, like no commenting, wink on some stuff on Twitter. And then now it's gone really quiet because I think people are realizing, like, wait a second, this might not be all the way on the up and up to the way we think. So I'm curious to see how much is looked into as far as that goes. And I hope there's certainly nothing wrong because I would hate for that to get, this big, huge celebration to get marred by that. But, it definitely raised some eyebrows, seeing who all was involved in that. And so, hope, like I said, I hope there's nothing there and that this was all clean cut and he's going to go to Jackson State with no problems and all of that. That's my hope.
All right, we'll take a break right here, and we'll get Smokey back in because he's parked on the sidewalk. That's not a thing. I'm not making that up. This is Sikkim 365 Sports and 365 Radio.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'EM125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'EM200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM
SICK'EM 200.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash for trade. TTNL Extra. See deal for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $438 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SICK'EM 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Craig Smoak will have a couple of notes right after this, so we'll go through this. This is yesterday, Smokey. You suggested this one, so I did it. Top 5 teams who need a quarterback, and in one regard or another. For different things. Number 5, North Carolina. Sam Howell's going to go to the NFL. Don't know who'll be the next one there, and they had a really good recruiting class today. They had a good signing day. Signed one.
Well, I would say North Carolina, they have you remember Luke May, the guy who hit the shot in the Elite Eight?
Yeah.
His little brother, Drake May, was committed to Bama and then decommitted and is now going to Carolina.
Holy, okay. Thank
but
you.
It's still a true freshman. So now Sam Howell played as a true freshman. So hopefully for UNC they can get that kind of turnaround. But that's a big area.
You're talking transfer portal, right?
Yeah,
now.
whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, like transfer portal. But
All
they
right.
could probably get in the transfer portal and get a veteran. Number 4, Ole Miss. I fully expect them to see their starter next year be from the transfer portal. Matt Corral's leaving. We don't know who that's going to be. Look, it could be Dylan Gabriel. It could be a lot of different guys. But Ole Miss is definitely going to need a quarterback out of the transfer portal. Again, if they want to bridge the gap between some of their young guys. And now with a team that's pretty good all coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, and going to be a change, though, with no Jeff Levy. I mean, Lane Kiffin still has a lot of input, obviously, so not too much will change, I don't think, in that regard. But, I wouldn't expect him to just stay pat.
Yeah, and number 3, this one has a question mark on it. Oklahoma? I mean, I don't know. They might not need one because they might have Caleb Williams, or they might need one because they might not. Yeah. Bob Stoops was asked about this today, and he's like, well, I sure hope he comes back, which means nobody knows yet.
I saw where Jason Kersey, the athletic.com, who we had on last week, he publicized a podcast where Caleb Williams was actually the guest, and it had to be filtered through the University of Oklahoma, I think, athletic department. And he never really said he's coming back, but most of what you heard, it appeared as if it does point for him being part of Oklahoma.
I think that was on a players podcast. I'm pretty sure is what that was. Like that's through that website. I guess maybe it sponsors it. I don't know, but I think that was a players podcast that he joined. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's right. But yeah, I mean that all depends on Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I mean that's all what it's about. And whatever he decides to do, right now I'd almost expect him to be back at Oklahoma, kind of the way that things kind of seem at the moment. But as we know, in this this world. It could change it at any second. But, yeah, that's all Caleb Williams right there.
Good to have the question mark. For those who are watching and listening, it's not that if Caleb Williams comes back, it's if he doesn't.
Yeah. Again, like I said, Oklahoma. LSU definitely needs to get in the transfer portal and get a veteran, unless they're confident in Garrett Nussmeier, who was their number one recruit a couple years ago and is there. Miles Brennan gone. Max Johnson gone. And both of those guys. Miles Brennan, apparently Nebraska hot and heavy after Miles Brennan right now as well. Me. So we'll see.
Anybody that can walk and chew gum to play quarterback. Please.
Yeah, hopefully he can do those two things.
Yeah, they signed Walker Howard, and they've got Nussmeier, as you said. But, I would think that they're probably going to be transfer portal diving. And Brian Kelly, too, being a new coach with a new system and a new everything, may want his own guy. You always got to be on the lookout for that as well. So, yeah, and look, they're going to start a walk-on in their bowl game.
Oh, yeah, they are, and so is the number one team.
Yeah. So, obviously there's some depth issues at quarterback.
Yeah, number one is Texas A&M. Look, they've got Haynes King coming back, and they obviously feel good about him. He won the starting job, but he's coming off a broken tibia. He is back at practice, but he is going to be the number 2 quarterback, or maybe even the number 3 behind whatever other walk-on is going to be there. They signed a quarterback today, but they're going to have 2 scholarship quarterbacks in the spring, and there's be Connor Weigman and Haynes King, and Jimbo Fisher definitely said, hey, we're going to get one. It would be weird considering that he beat them in the last game of the season, but Max Johnson's brother, Jake Johnson, committed there today and signed there today. So maybe Max Johnson is that veteran if he wants to play with his brother. I would assume he's going to go somewhere where he has a better chance to start. But it will be a competition no matter what with Haynes King, because he's going to have to show that the broken leg doesn't affect him long term.
And maybe during this time he's been rehabbing and bouncing back from the leg as he's gotten a little bit bigger and stronger. That was one of my concerns with him. He's a hell of a quarterback in high school, but again, a lot of are, and then they get to the college.
Blaine Boast is going to start the bowl game against Wake Forest.
Yeah, he's a walk-on. All right, Jack McKenzie.
Nope, I got a couple of notes.
Oh, yeah, you do have a couple of notes. Yep.
All right, so just a couple of notes that are worthwhile here. For one, Temple has been in the coaching carousel. You mentioned Fran Brown, I think, earlier as a possible candidate for that job, but it looks, and this was reported a while ago, but now we're getting follow-up on it, and it's moving closer to becoming official that Texas running backs coach Stan Drayton has been offered the Temple job, and he is working to finalize an agreement. He worked with the current Temple AD at UT, as a matter of fact, and he was, the favorite. So Stan Drayton looks like he'll be potentially leaving Texas to go become a head coach at Temple. And also, we were just talking about quarterbacks. Florida redshirt junior quarterback per Pete Thamel, Emory Jones, plans to enter the transfer portal.
There you go.
In the coming days. He'll have 2 years of eligibility remaining. And Thamel said that he plans to play in Florida's bowl game. They're playing UCF later actually in a little over a week from now, and said he's willing to go anywhere in the country and is just looking for a place that develops me and prepares me for the next level. So Stan Drayton looked like he'll be the next Temple head coach, leaving Texas, and Emory Jones entering the transfer portal.
Quick question, and we're over. If a player says they want to enter the transfer portal and you have a bowl game, do you let him play? Do you want him around the program?
Well, I think they don't have any choice. Yeah. I think that because Anthony Richardson is still banged up.
That's right.
And look, Emory Jones he's been a walking turnover that time. That's why he's transferring. So hopefully wherever he goes can coach that out of him a little bit.
All right. Thanks again, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims, our amazing sponsors, and of course you, chat room, callers, viewers, everybody. I'll get on that text line tonight if you want to watch a replay of a segment you didn't see of the show, and I'll answer some of your questions if we can at 254-339-1122. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, thanks to Grayson Grunhafer, Colt Barber, Brian Etheridge, Ashley Hodge, Travis Reeder, among the football staff. I'm David Smoak. Have a great night. 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.